The psychology of rich people. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning with every dollar, every investment, every business, and every possession gone. Your bank account is empty. Your house is no longer yours. Your expensive car has disappeared. Your investments have vanished. Everything you spent years building is gone. Now ask yourself one question. Would you be able to become wealthy again? For most people, that thought is terrifying. But for many truly wealthy people, the answer is surprisingly simple. Yes. Not because they possess magical abilities. Not because they know secret shortcuts. Not because life has always been fair to them. But because they understand something that most people never discover. Wealth is created by the mind before it is reflected in the bank account. Money is the result. Thinking is the cause. This is why some people lose everything and rebuild an even greater fortune, while others receive unexpected wealth, only to lose it all within a few years. The difference isn't the amount of money they had. The difference is the psychology behind it. Most people spend their lives asking, "How can I make more money?" Rich people often ask a different question. "How can I become more valuable?" Most people chase paychecks. Rich people build assets. Most people work only for today's income. Rich people build tomorrow's opportunities. And perhaps the most important difference of all, most people try to change their financial situation without changing the way they think. That is like trying to harvest fruit from a tree whose roots are dying. It simply doesn't work. Today, we are going far beyond money. We are exploring the hidden psychology that shapes financial success. The beliefs, the habits, the decisions, the emotional discipline, and the invisible patterns that separate those who build lasting wealth from those who spend their entire lives chasing it. Some of these ideas may challenge what you've believed for years. Some may inspire you. Others may completely change the way you think about success. But if you stay until the end of this journey, you will begin to see wealth through an entirely different lens. Not as something reserved for a lucky few, but as something built through consistent thinking, disciplined action, and lifelong growth. So, find a quiet place. Put away every distraction. Take a deep breath. Open your mind. Because today, we're not simply learning how rich people make money. We're discovering how they think. And that changes everything. Relaxation and mental preparation. Before we begin, take a slow, deep breath. Hold it for just a moment. Now breathe out slowly. Again. Breathe in. And breathe out. Allow your shoulders to relax. Let the noise of the day fade into the background. Forget about yesterday's mistakes. Forget about today's stress. Forget about tomorrow's worries. For the next hour, give yourself permission to learn. Not just to hear words, but to examine your own beliefs. Because every lasting transformation begins with awareness. Many people spend years trying to improve their financial lives. They work harder. They search for better opportunities. They hope that one day everything will finally change. Yet they overlook the one place where every financial decision is first made: the mind. Every investment begins as an idea. Every business begins as a vision. Every fortune begins as a belief that something better is possible. Long before wealth appears in someone's bank account, it exists in their thinking. That doesn't mean positive thinking alone creates riches. Far from it. Thinking without action produces nothing. But action without the right thinking often produces frustration. Both are necessary. Your thoughts influence your decisions. Your decisions become your habits. Your habits shape your future. This journey isn't about comparing yourself with wealthy people. It's about understanding the principles that help them become who they are. Some of those principles can be practiced regardless of your current financial situation. Whether you're a student, an employee, an entrepreneur, or someone simply trying to build a better future, the psychology we'll explore today can begin changing your life immediately. So remain curious, stay humble, question old beliefs, and prepare to see money, success, and yourself from a completely new perspective. Let's begin. Motivational introduction. There is a common belief that rich people are simply born different, that they have better opportunities, better connections, better luck. Sometimes those advantages exist. But history is filled with people who started with almost nothing and still built extraordinary lives. What separated them from everyone else? It wasn't just intelligence. It wasn't just talent. It wasn't even money. It was the way they interpreted the world around them. While others saw obstacles, they searched for opportunities. While others feared failure, they viewed it as education. While others spent their income, they invested in their future. Their psychology shaped their choices, and those choices shaped their lives. Imagine two architects standing before an empty piece of land. One sees an empty field. The other sees the blueprint of a magnificent building. Both are looking at the same land, but only one can already picture what it can become. The same principle applies to wealth. Your future is often limited not by what you possess today, but by what you're able to imagine, believe, and consistently build. Throughout this journey, we'll uncover 10 psychological patterns that many wealthy people share. These are not guarantees of riches. They are timeless principles that help people make wiser financial decisions, develop stronger character, and create opportunities where others see limitations. As you listen, don't simply ask, "Do rich people think this way?" Instead ask, "How can I begin developing these habits in my own life?" Because knowledge becomes powerful only when it is applied. Today is not about admiring successful people from a distance. It is about learning from them, and perhaps discovering that the greatest investment you will ever make is the investment you make in your own mind. Now, let's begin with the first psychological principle that changes everything. Rich people think long-term. Chapter 1. Rich people think long-term. Imagine two men standing in a forest. The first carries an axe. The second carries a small bag of seeds. The man with the axe spends the entire day cutting down trees and selling the wood. At sunset, he returns home with money in his pocket. He has earned enough to survive another day. The second man spends the day planting seeds. As the sun sets, he has earned almost nothing. People passing by laugh at him. "What a waste of time," they say. "You worked all day and made almost no money." The man simply smiles, because he is not working for today's sunset. He is working for the forest that will grow over the next 20 years. That is the difference between short-term thinking and long-term thinking. Most people make decisions based on today's comfort. Rich people often make decisions based on tomorrow's freedom. They understand that the greatest rewards rarely arrive immediately. They are built patiently, one decision at a time. The story of David and Michael. David and Michael graduated from the same university. Both were intelligent. Both found good jobs. Both earned almost the same salary. During the first year, their lives looked nearly identical. But their thinking was completely different. Every time David received his salary, he asked himself, "What can I enjoy today?" He upgraded his phone, bought fashionable clothes, spent weekends chasing entertainment. He believed that if he worked hard, he deserved to spend everything he earned. Michael asked himself a different question. "What can I build today that will improve my life 5 years from now?" He bought books. He attended training programs. He invested a portion of every paycheck. He learned new skills after work. His friends often teased him. "You worry too much. Enjoy life while you're young. You only live once." Michael smiled. He wasn't refusing to enjoy life. He was refusing to sacrifice his future for temporary pleasure. 10 years later, the difference was extraordinary. David still depended entirely on his monthly paycheck. Michael had investments producing income. He owned part of businesses. His skills had increased his earning power. People called him lucky, but luck had very little to do with it. His future had been shaped by 10 years of long-term thinking. The marshmallow lesson. Years ago, researchers conducted a famous experiment with young children. Each child was given a simple choice. They could eat one marshmallow immediately, or wait a while and receive 2 marshmallows instead. Some children ate the first marshmallow within seconds. Others waited patiently. The experiment became famous because researchers later discovered that many of the children who learned to delay gratification also developed habits associated with long-term success. The lesson isn't about marshmallows. It's about self-control. Life constantly offers us similar choices. Spend now, or invest for later. Seek comfort today, or build freedom tomorrow. The ability to delay gratification is one of the most powerful financial habits anyone can develop. The oak tree. Imagine planting an oak tree. Would you expect it to become enormous in a month? Of course not. Strong trees grow slowly. They develop deep roots before reaching great heights. Wealth follows the same principle. People often see someone's success and assume it happened quickly. What they don't see are the years of preparation, the nights spent learning, the sacrifices made when no one was watching, the countless small decisions that slowly built an extraordinary life. Lasting wealth grows much like an oak tree. Patiently, quietly, steadily. Rich people ask different questions. Many people ask, "How much money can I make this month?" Rich people often ask, "What can I build that will continue creating value for years?" Many people ask, "What will make me happy today?" Rich people ask, "What decision will improve my future?" Those questions may seem similar, but they produce completely different lives. Your questions determine your focus. Your focus influences your decisions, and your decisions create your future. Reflection. Take a moment and answer these questions honestly. When you make financial decisions, are you thinking about this weekend? Or the next 10 years? Do your daily habits move you closer to your future? Or only satisfy today's desires? If someone watched the way you spend your money, your time, and your energy, would they conclude that you're building a future? Or simply reacting to the present? Remember this. The richest life is not built by making perfect decisions every day. It is built by making wise decisions consistently. Every page you read, every skill you develop, every investment you make, every unnecessary expense you avoid, every hour you spend improving yourself. These are all seeds. At first, they seem insignificant. But one day, they become a forest. Never underestimate the power of thinking beyond today. Because the future belongs to those who prepare for it while others are distracted by the present. Yet long-term thinking alone is not enough. Many people dream about becoming wealthy for decades, but they misunderstand the true purpose of money itself. They spend their lives chasing money, while wealthy people learn to make money work for them. That is the next psychological shift we'll explore. They see money as a tool, not a goal. Chapter 2. They see money as a tool, not a goal. Imagine giving 2 people the exact same tool. One person receives a hammer and uses it to build a beautiful home. The other receives the same hammer but leaves it lying on the ground, occasionally showing it to friends and saying, "Look what I own." Years later, one person has a house filled with warmth, security, and memories. The other still has only a hammer. The difference was never the tool. It was how they chose to use it. Money works the same way. Many people spend their entire lives chasing money as if money itself is the destination. But wealthy people often understand a different truth. Money is not the destination. It is the vehicle. Money is a tool. A tool to create opportunities. A tool to solve problems. A tool to build businesses. A tool to improve lives. A tool to create freedom. When you misunderstand the purpose of money, you begin serving it. When you understand the purpose of money, money begins serving you. That simple shift changes everything. The story of Grace and Sophia. Grace and Sophia were cousins. They grew up together, attended the same schools, and eventually found successful careers. Both were ambitious. Both wanted financial security. But they had completely different relationships with money. Every payday, Grace asked herself one question: what can I buy? She loved expensive handbags. She upgraded her phone almost every year. She believed success should be visible. When her salary increased, her lifestyle increased even faster. The more she earned, the more she spent. From the outside, her life looked glamorous. Friends admired her social media posts. They complimented her fashionable clothes and luxurious vacations. Few people knew that behind those smiling photographs were growing debts, sleepless nights, and constant financial pressure. Sophia viewed money differently. She didn't hate beautiful things. She simply believed money had a greater purpose. Every time she received her salary, she divided it carefully. One portion covered her living expenses. Another portion went into investments. Some funded courses that improved her skills. Some helped her start a small online business. And every month, she set aside a little to help people in need. Her friends often questioned her. "Why don't you enjoy your money more?" She would smile and reply, "I am enjoying it. I'm using it to build a future instead of buying temporary excitement." The first few years looked ordinary. Grace appeared wealthier. Sophia appeared average. But appearances can be deceptive. 10 years later, the difference was remarkable. Grace still depended entirely on her monthly paycheck. Sophia owned investments that generated income. Her business continued to grow. She had choices. She wasn't trapped by every unexpected expense. The money she had once treated as a tool had quietly built a life of freedom. The taxi and the bus. Imagine standing beside two vehicles. One is a taxi. The other is a bus. A taxi carries only one passenger at a time. A bus carries many. Now imagine money. Many people use money like a taxi. It carries them from one purchase to another. One bill. One expense. One moment of pleasure. Then it's gone. Rich people often use money like a bus. Every dollar is sent to carry more opportunities. It helps build businesses. It purchases assets. It creates systems. It produces even more money. Instead of asking, "What can this money buy?" they ask, "What can this money build?" That one question separates consumption from creation. The difference between wealth and possessions. One of the biggest misunderstandings in modern society is believing that expensive possessions automatically mean wealth. They don't. Someone may wear an expensive watch while drowning in debt. Another person may drive a simple car while quietly owning businesses, investments, and financial freedom. Possessions often decrease in value. Assets have the potential to increase in value. Rich people understand this distinction. They don't refuse to enjoy life. They simply build assets before they build luxury. They know that today's discipline creates tomorrow's freedom. The river that never stops flowing. Imagine a river flowing through a village. The villagers don't worship the river. They don't collect buckets of water just to admire them. They use the water. They irrigate crops. They generate electricity. They provide drinking water. They improve life. Money should flow in much the same way. It should move toward productive purposes. When money stops moving wisely, it loses much of its power. Money that creates value often returns with even greater value. Money used only to impress others usually disappears. The psychology behind the tool. Why do wealthy people think this way? Because they understand that every financial decision is a choice between consumption and creation. Every naira, dollar, euro, or pound has a job. You decide what that job will be. Will it disappear after one weekend? Or will it continue working for years? This doesn't mean wealthy people never enjoy life. They absolutely do. But they often allow their assets to pay for their lifestyle rather than relying only on their personal labor. Their goal isn't simply to earn money. Their goal is to build systems that continue creating value. That is a completely different way of thinking. Reflection. Take a quiet moment and ask yourself, when money enters my hands, what is my first thought? What can I spend it on? Or, what can I build with it? If someone looked at my financial decisions over the past year, would they see someone chasing possessions? Or creating opportunities? Am I using money Or is money using me? Remember, money is an excellent servant, but it is a terrible master. The moment you stop treating money as the finish line and start treating it as a tool, your financial decisions begin to change. And when your decisions change, your future changes with them. Because wealth is not built by loving money. It is built by wisely directing money toward meaningful purposes. But even people who understand this truth often struggle with another challenge. They earn money. They know its purpose. Yet they still spend it before giving it the chance to grow. And that brings us to our next psychological principle. Rich people invest before they spend. Chapter 3. They invest before they spend. Imagine two farmers standing at the edge of their fields just after harvest. Each farmer has gathered 100 bags of grain. The first farmer looks at his harvest and says, "I've worked hard. I deserve to enjoy all of this." So he sells every bag, spends the money, celebrates with friends, and lives comfortably for a while. The second farmer also celebrates his harvest. But before spending anything, he carefully selects the best bags of grain. Instead of eating or selling them, he plants them back into the soil. People laugh at him. "You already have enough," they say. "Why not enjoy everything now?" The farmer simply smiles. He understands something they don't. The grain he plants today will become tomorrow's harvest. 1 year later, the first farmer is once again worried about survival. The second farmer is harvesting fields far larger than before. The difference wasn't how much they harvested. The difference was what they did first. That is the psychology of wealthy people. Before they reward themselves, they invest in their future. The story of Samuel and Rebecca. Samuel and Rebecca started their first jobs in the same month. Both earned respectable salaries. Both dreamed of owning beautiful homes, traveling the world, and providing a comfortable life for their families. During their first payday, Samuel felt excited. "This is my money," he thought. "I've earned it." That weekend, he bought new clothes, expensive shoes, and the latest smartphone. He wasn't reckless. He simply believed that after working so hard, he deserved to enjoy his income immediately. Rebecca also celebrated her first paycheck. She took her parents out for dinner. She bought herself a small gift. But before she spent another naira, she quietly transferred part of her salary into an investment account. It wasn't a huge amount. In fact, some of her friends laughed. "What difference can that little money make?" Rebecca didn't argue. She simply remained consistent. Month after month, year after year, she invested before spending. There were months when it felt difficult. Unexpected expenses appeared. Friends invited her on expensive trips. New fashion trends tempted her. Sometimes she wondered if she was missing out. But every time she felt discouraged, she reminded herself, "I'm not sacrificing my happiness. I'm purchasing my freedom." Meanwhile, Samuel's salary increased over the years. But something strange happened. As his income grew, so did his lifestyle. Every raise became an excuse for new expenses. A bigger apartment, a newer car, more luxury, more subscriptions, more debt. Despite earning far more than before, he still found himself waiting anxiously for the next payday. Rebecca's lifestyle improved too, but much more slowly. Most of her additional income flowed into investments. One evening, nearly 12 years after they had started working, Samuel met Rebecca for coffee. As they talked, he asked, "How are you able to travel so often without worrying about work?" Rebecca smiled. "Years ago, I stopped working only for money. I started letting my money work for me." At that moment, Samuel realized something painful. For 12 years, they had earned similar incomes. But while he had been buying comfort, Rebecca had been buying freedom, paying your future first. Most people follow this pattern. Earn, spend, save whatever is left. The problem is, there is usually very little left. Rich people often reverse the order. Earn, invest, then spend what remains. This simple change transforms everything. It sends a powerful message to your mind. My future matters just as much as my present. That mindset is one of the strongest psychological differences between consumers and wealth builders. The mango tree. Imagine planting a mango seed today. Tomorrow, there is no fruit. 1 month later, there is still no fruit. 1 year later, only a small tree stands before you. Someone impatient might cut it down, believing it is useless. But the patient farmer knows better. He waters it, protects it, waits. Eventually, the tree begins producing fruit every season. Investments work much the same way. At first, progress seems slow. Sometimes it feels invisible. But time has a remarkable ability to multiply consistent effort. The wealthy understand this. They don't become discouraged by slow beginnings. They trust the process. Investing beyond money. When people hear the word investment, they often think only of stocks, businesses, or real estate. But rich people invest in far more than financial assets. They invest in knowledge. They invest in health. They invest in relationships. They invest in mentors. They invest in skills. They invest in experiences that expand their thinking. Why? Because they understand one important truth. The greatest investment is often the one that improves the person making every future decision. A healthier body makes better decisions. A wiser mind creates better opportunities. A stronger character attracts greater trust. Those investments continue paying dividends for a lifetime. The snowball effect. Picture a tiny snowball rolling down a snowy hill. At first, it grows very slowly, almost too slowly to notice. But as it continues rolling, it gathers more snow. Soon it becomes too large to stop easily. Wealth often grows the same way. The first investment feels insignificant. The second seems only slightly larger. Years later, those small decisions begin producing remarkable results. What once seemed impossible becomes normal. This is why consistency is far more important than perfection. Small investments made faithfully over many years often outperform large investments made only occasionally. Reflection. Pause for a moment. Ask yourself honestly, when I receive money, who gets paid first? My future? Or my impulses? If I continue managing my income exactly as I do today, where will I likely be 10 years from now? What small investment could I begin making this month? Not someday. Not when I become rich. This month. Remember this. Every investment is a message to your future self. It says, I believe you are worth preparing for. The wealthy understand that every coin planted wisely today can become a harvest tomorrow. That is why they invest before they spend. Because they know freedom is not purchased in one day. It is built one decision at a time. But even the wisest investments begin with something deeper than money. They begin with the ability to see opportunity where everyone else sees obstacles. And that is exactly what we'll explore in the next chapter. Rich people turn problems into opportunities. Chapter 4. They turn problems into opportunities. Imagine two travelers walking down the same road. As they approach a mountain, they discover that a massive landslide has blocked their path. The first traveler becomes angry. He throws his bag to the ground and says, "This is unfair. My journey is over." He turns around and goes home. The second traveler stands quietly, studying the mountain. He notices a narrow trail winding around the side. The climb is steeper. It is more difficult. It will take longer. But it still leads to the destination. Years later, people praise the second traveler for reaching the summit. Very few remember the obstacle that almost stopped him. The mountain didn't determine the outcome. The mindset did. That is one of the greatest psychological differences between ordinary thinking and wealthy thinking. Most people ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Rich people often ask, "How can I use this to my advantage?" One question creates frustration. The other creates opportunity. The story of Olivia and Hannah. Olivia and Hannah had been close friends for nearly 15 years. They worked for the same company. They had similar salaries. Both believed they would retire from that company one day. Then something unexpected happened. The company announced that it was closing several departments. Hundreds of employees lost their jobs. Olivia was devastated. For weeks, she stayed at home, replaying the same painful thoughts. Why did this happen to me? Life is so unfair. I've wasted the best years of my life. Every conversation centered around disappointment. Every day, her confidence became weaker. She spent more time thinking about what she had lost than about what she could still build. Hannah was equally shocked. She cried the day she lost her job. She worried about her bills. She wondered how she would support her family. But after a few days, she asked herself a different question. What opportunity might be hidden inside this problem? She remembered that for years people had complimented her baking. Friends often told her she should start a business. She had always replied, "Maybe one day." Now, she had no choice. She began baking from her small kitchen. The first week, she sold only a few cakes. The second week, she sold a few more. Some customers complained. Some orders were canceled. Some days she questioned whether she had made a terrible mistake. But every setback taught her something. She learned better marketing. She improved her recipes. She listened to feedback. She kept going. 3 years later, Hannah owned a thriving bakery with several employees. Ironically, the event she had once called the worst day of her life became the beginning of her greatest opportunity. When people praised her success, they rarely asked about the painful season that gave birth to it. Sometimes life closes one door, not to punish you, but to force you to notice another one. Problems are often disguised opportunities. Think about some of the greatest inventions in history. Many were created because someone encountered a problem and refused to accept it. Businesses exist because they solve problems. Doctors solve health problems. Engineers solve technical problems. Teachers solve knowledge problems. Entrepreneurs solve customer problems. The larger the problem, the greater the opportunity for someone willing to solve it. Rich people train themselves to see problems differently. Instead of seeing only obstacles, they search for possibilities. The potter and the clay. Imagine a potter holding a lump of clay. To someone else, it looks worthless, messy, ordinary. But the potter sees something different. He sees a beautiful vase hidden inside the clay. He begins shaping it, pressing it, stretching it, placing it into intense heat. Without pressure, the clay never becomes strong enough to hold water. Life often works the same way. Pressure shapes people. Challenges reveal character. Difficult seasons often develop strengths that comfort never could. Many wealthy people are grateful for struggles they once wished would disappear, because those struggles taught them resilience, creativity, and discipline. The psychology of opportunity. Why do some people find opportunities while others see only obstacles? Because the brain naturally focuses on the questions we ask. If you ask, "Why does nothing good ever happen to me?" your mind begins collecting evidence to support that belief. If you ask, "What can I learn from this?" your brain begins searching for solutions. The event may be exactly the same, but your question changes your focus, and your focus changes your future. The eagle and the storm. There is a fascinating lesson from nature. When a storm approaches, most birds search desperately for shelter. But the eagle behaves differently. Instead of fleeing the storm, it spreads its wings. The powerful winds that frighten other birds lift the eagle higher into the sky. The storm itself becomes the force that carries it upward. Problems can do the same thing. They can break you, or they can strengthen you. The difference often depends on how you respond. Reflection. Take a quiet moment. Think about the biggest challenge you are facing right now. Now ask yourself, what if this problem contains a lesson I haven't discovered yet? What skill could this difficulty force me to develop? Could this setback actually be preparing me for something greater? Am I focusing more on the obstacle, or on finding another path? Remember, Every successful person has faced disappointment. Businesses fail. Investments lose value. Plans fall apart. Dreams encounter delays. The wealthy are not people who avoid problems. They are people who learn to transform problems into opportunities. The obstacle standing before you today may become the story that inspires someone else tomorrow. Never underestimate what can grow from a season of difficulty. Because many of life's greatest blessings first arrive wearing the disguise of adversity. But recognizing opportunity requires one more essential habit. You must continue growing. You must continue expanding your knowledge. Because opportunities often pass unnoticed by people who stop learning. And that leads us to our next psychological principle. Rich people never stop learning. They never stop learning. Imagine two glasses sitting on a table. The first glass is completely full. The second is only half full. Now imagine someone begins pouring fresh, clean water into both glasses. The full glass cannot receive anything new. Every drop simply spills onto the table. But the half-full glass welcomes every new drop. It becomes fuller, richer, and more useful. The human mind works much the same way. The moment a person believes, "I already know enough," growth begins to slow. Rich people understand a simple but life-changing truth. The more you learn, the more opportunities you are able to recognize. They don't see education as something that ends with graduation. They see it as a lifelong investment. Because the world never stops changing. Technology changes. Businesses change. Markets change. Customer needs change. If your knowledge stays the same while the world keeps moving forward, you slowly begin falling behind. That is why wealthy people are often students long after they have become successful. The story of Daniel and Isaac. Daniel and Isaac were childhood friends. Both dreamed of becoming financially successful. Both graduated from university with excellent grades. On graduation day, Daniel proudly said, "Finally, no more studying." Isaac smiled and replied, "Actually, I think my real education is just beginning." At first, their lives looked almost identical. They both secured good jobs. They both earned similar salaries. But after work, their evenings looked very different. Daniel believed he had earned the right to relax. Every evening was filled with television, endless scrolling through social media, and hours of entertainment. Whenever someone recommended a book, he would laugh. "I've already spent enough years studying." Isaac also enjoyed relaxing. But he made one promise to himself. Every single day, he would learn something new. Some evenings he read books about leadership. Other nights he studied investing. He listened to podcasts during his commute. He attended seminars whenever he could. He paid for courses that improved his skills. He asked successful people questions instead of pretending he already knew everything. Sometimes progress felt invisible. Sometimes he wondered if all that learning was making any difference. But he refused to stop. 7 years later, something remarkable happened. Companies began offering Isaac leadership positions. Clients trusted his advice. Business opportunities seemed to appear everywhere. Daniel was confused. "Why does opportunity always find you?" Isaac smiled. "Opportunity didn't suddenly find me. I spent years becoming the kind of person who could recognize it." That one sentence changed the way Daniel thought forever. Knowledge creates vision. Imagine walking into a dark room. Without light, everything feels confusing. You bump into furniture. You struggle to find the door. Now imagine someone switches on a light. The room hasn't changed. But suddenly, you can clearly see the path. Knowledge works exactly like that light. It doesn't magically remove every obstacle. It simply allows you to see possibilities that were already there. Many people miss opportunities not because opportunities don't exist, but because they don't yet have the knowledge to recognize them. The richer your understanding becomes, the more doors you begin to notice. The Librarian's Secret. There is a beautiful story about an elderly librarian named Mr. Thomas. For more than 40 years, he worked quietly in a small town library. People often wondered why he spent every lunch break reading instead of resting. One afternoon, a young man asked him, "You've already read thousands of books. Why do you keep reading?" The old librarian smiled. He picked up a small key from his desk. Holding it in his hand, he said, "Imagine someone gives you one key and tells you it opens every door in the city. Would you stop searching after opening only one door?" The young man shook his head. "Of course not." The librarian smiled again. "Books are keys. Every book opens a different door. The more keys you collect, the more rooms of life become available to you." Years later, that young man became a successful entrepreneur. Whenever reporters asked about the greatest advice he had ever received, he didn't mention business. He remembered the librarian. Books are keys. Curiosity is a wealth habit. One characteristic appears again and again among successful people: curiosity. They ask questions. They observe. They study. They remain teachable. The moment someone believes they know everything, growth stops. Rich people understand that every person they meet knows something they don't. Every experience carries a lesson. Every mistake contains information. Every challenge teaches resilience. They never allow pride to become the enemy of progress. The sharpened axe. There is an old story about two woodcutters. The first worked from sunrise until sunset without stopping. The second paused every few hours. The first woodcutter laughed. "You're wasting time resting." At the end of the day, however, the second woodcutter had cut down far more trees. Curious, the first man asked, "How did you work less and accomplish more?" The second smiled. "While you were swinging your axe, I was sharpening mine." Learning is like sharpening your axe. Yes, it requires time. Yes, it requires effort. But it makes every future action more effective. Knowledge multiplies productivity. Reflection. Pause for a moment. Ask yourself honestly, when was the last time I learned something that challenged my thinking? Do I spend more time consuming entertainment or acquiring knowledge? What skill could completely change my future if I started learning it today? If I continue learning at my current pace, who will I become 5 years from now? Remember, no one can steal your knowledge. No economic crisis can erase the wisdom you've gained. No setback can take away the lessons you've learned. Knowledge becomes part of who you are. It travels with you wherever life leads. And perhaps the greatest investment you'll ever make is the investment you make in your own mind. Because a growing mind creates growing opportunities. But knowledge alone isn't enough. You can know every principle of success, yet still struggle if you surround yourself with people who constantly pull you backward. That is why the next psychological principle is so important. Rich people build valuable relationships. Chapter 6. They build valuable relationships. Imagine trying to climb a steep mountain completely alone. You carry your backpack. You find your own path. You cross dangerous rivers by yourself. When you become tired, there is no one to encourage you. When you lose your way, there is no one to guide you. Now imagine making that same journey with experienced climbers. People who have already reached the summit. People who know where the dangerous cliffs are. People who have survived the storms you're only beginning to face. The mountain hasn't changed, but your chances of reaching the top have. Life works much the same way. One of the greatest misunderstandings about wealth is believing that successful people achieve everything alone. The truth is quite different. Behind almost every successful entrepreneur, every respected leader, every great investor, every remarkable achievement, there is a network of relationships built on trust, respect, and mutual value. Rich people understand something that many never learn. Your network does not replace your hard work, but it can multiply its impact. They don't collect people for status. They build relationships based on integrity, learning, service, and shared growth. The story of Ethan and Caleb. Ethan and Caleb grew up in the same town. Both dreamed of becoming successful entrepreneurs. Both worked hard. Both had good ideas. But their approach to people was completely different. Ethan believed success was a competition. Whenever someone around him achieved something, he became jealous. He avoided sharing knowledge. He refused to ask for advice because he feared appearing inexperienced. When someone succeeded, he quietly hoped they would fail. As the years passed, Ethan found himself working harder and harder, but mostly alone. Every challenge felt heavier because he insisted on carrying it by himself. Caleb thought differently. He understood that every person he met could teach him something. He attended business events even when he felt nervous. He introduced himself to experienced entrepreneurs. He asked thoughtful questions. When someone succeeded, he congratulated them sincerely. When friends started businesses, he supported them. He shared ideas freely. He recommended other people's services when they deserved it. He built a reputation as someone who genuinely wanted others to succeed. At first, nothing extraordinary happened. Months passed. Then years. But quietly, something powerful was taking place. People began remembering Caleb. When opportunities appeared, his name came to mind. When businesses needed trustworthy partners, they called him. When investors searched for reliable people, someone recommended Caleb. One afternoon, Ethan asked him, "Why does everyone seem willing to help you?" Caleb smiled. "Because for years I tried to become the kind of person worth helping." That answer stayed with Ethan for a long time. He realized that relationships are not built during moments of need. They are built long before the need ever arises. Relationships are like gardens. Imagine planting a garden. You don't throw seeds into the ground today and expect flowers tomorrow. You water them, protect them, remove weeds, remain patient. Only then does the garden begin to bloom. Relationships work exactly the same way. Trust grows slowly. Respect grows slowly. Friendship grows slowly. Many people contact others only when they need a favor. Rich people often build relationships long before asking for anything. They understand that genuine relationships are investments, not transactions. The bridge builder. There is an old story about an elderly man who crossed a dangerous river every day. One evening, after reaching the other side safely, he stopped and began building a bridge. A traveler asked, "Why are you building a bridge? You'll never cross this river again." The old man smiled. Asterisk. "No," he replied, "but someone else will." That is the mindset of people who create lasting influence. They don't ask only, "How can this person help me?" They also ask, "How can I help this person?" Ironically, those who consistently create value for others often discover that opportunities naturally return to them. Not because they demanded them, but because trust always attracts opportunity. The psychology of influence. Why do relationships matter so much? Because opportunities often move for people. A new job, a business partnership, a mentor, an investor, a customer, a recommendation. These opportunities rarely appear in isolation. They often come through relationships built over time. But here's the important part. Wealthy people don't build relationships by pretending to be someone they're not. They build them through honesty, reliability, kindness, consistency, character. People may admire talent, but they trust integrity. And trust is one of the most valuable currencies in the world. The forest lesson. Walk into a healthy forest. At first glance, every tree appears to stand alone. But beneath the soil, something remarkable is happening. The roots of many trees are connected through an underground network. When one tree becomes weak, nutrients can move through the network. When danger approaches, signals travel from one tree to another. The strongest forests survive because they are connected. Human success often follows the same principle. No one grows entirely alone. The strongest lives are supported by relationships built on encouragement, wisdom, accountability, and shared purpose. The goal is not to know everyone. The goal is to know the right people and to become the right person yourself. Reflection. Take a quiet moment. Think about the people closest to you. Do they encourage growth or discourage it? serve without expecting anything in return. Remember this. The quality of your relationships often influences the quality of your future. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to grow. People who celebrate your progress instead of resenting it. People whose character inspires you. And become that kind of person for others. Because the doors that money cannot open, trust often can. Yet even with knowledge, opportunities, and strong relationships, many people still make decisions that destroy their future. Why? Because they allow emotions to control their actions. Fear, greed, anger, pride, impatience. And that is where our next psychological principle begins. Rich people control their emotions. Chapter 7. They control their emotions. Imagine a captain sailing across the open ocean. One morning the sea is calm. The sky is blue. The wind is gentle. The journey feels effortless. But by evening, dark clouds gather on the horizon. Powerful waves begin crashing against the ship. Thunder fills the sky. Rain pours relentlessly. At that moment, the captain faces a choice. He can panic, abandon the steering wheel, and allow fear to control the ship. Or he can remain calm, trust his training, and guide the vessel safely through the storm. The storm does not decide the ship's destination. The captain does. Life works in much the same way. Every person experiences emotional storms. Fear, disappointment, excitement, anger, frustration, impatience. The difference is not whether these emotions appear. The difference is whether we allow them to make our decisions. One of the greatest psychological strengths of wealthy people is not that they never feel fear. It is that they rarely allow temporary emotions to control permanent decisions. The story of Marcus and Noah. Marcus and Noah had been investing together for several years. They studied the same books, attended the same seminars, even purchased many of the same investments. For a while, everything seemed perfect. Their investments steadily increased in value. They talked excitedly about their future. Then, without warning, the market experienced a sharp decline. News headlines screamed, "Financial disaster! Markets are crashing! Sell before it's too late!" Marcus couldn't sleep. Every hour he refreshed the news on his phone. Every negative headline increased his fear. After several sleepless nights, he made a decision. He sold nearly everything. "I can't lose any more money," he said. For a brief moment, he felt relieved. The fear disappeared. But several months later, the market slowly recovered. The investments he had sold began reaching new highs. Marcus realized something painful. His greatest loss had not come from the market. It had come from fear. Noah experienced the same frightening headlines. He also felt anxious. He also questioned his decisions. But before acting, he reminded himself of the plan he had created while calm. He reviewed the facts instead of reacting to emotions. He spoke with experienced investors instead of listening only to sensational headlines. Rather than making emotional decisions, he made thoughtful ones. Years later, Noah's patience had multiplied his wealth. Marcus often said, "I lost money because the market crashed." Noah gently replied, "No, you lost money because fear became your financial advisor." That conversation changed the way Marcus thought forever. The cost of emotional decisions. Think about some of the biggest financial mistakes people make. Buying something they can't afford because they feel excited. Selling an investment because they feel afraid. Quitting a business because they feel discouraged. Starting a project because they feel motivated. Then abandoning it when motivation disappears. Notice something? The problem is rarely the emotion itself. The problem is making important decisions while emotions are in control. Rich people understand that emotions are excellent signals. But poor leaders, they acknowledge their feelings. Then they allow wisdom, not emotion, to make the final decision. The story of the archer. There is an old story about a young archer who dreamed of becoming the greatest marksman in the kingdom. One windy afternoon, he became frustrated because every arrow missed the target. He threw down his bow and shouted, "The wind is against me!" An old master quietly walked over. Without saying a word, he picked up the bow. He waited. He watched the wind carefully. Then, at exactly the right moment, he released the arrow. It struck the center of the target. The young archer asked, "How did you do that?" The old master smiled. "I did not fight the wind. I learned not to let frustration shoot the arrow." How often do we release our own arrows while angry? While afraid? While impatient? Emotions often rush us toward decisions that wisdom would have delayed. Emotional discipline creates financial discipline. Rich people understand that wealth is built through consistency. Consistency requires discipline. Discipline requires emotional control. Imagine trying to build a house while changing the blueprint every week. The workers would become confused. Nothing would ever be completed. Many people manage their finances exactly that way. One week they save. The next week they spend impulsively. One month they invest. The next month they panic and withdraw everything. One day they are determined. The next day they quit. Emotional inconsistency produces financial inconsistency. The wealthy learn to follow principles rather than moods. They know that feelings change. Principles endure. The bamboo in the storm. During a violent storm, giant trees sometimes snap under the pressure. But bamboo often survives. Why? Because it bends without breaking. It remains flexible while staying firmly rooted. Emotionally mature people behave much like bamboo. They experience disappointment. They experience stress. They experience fear. But they refuse to let those emotions uproot their values or destroy their long-term vision. Resilience is not the absence of emotion. It is the ability to remain steady despite emotion. Reflection. Take a quiet moment. Think about the last major financial decision you made. Was it guided by careful thinking? Or by emotion? Have fear, anger, pride, or impatience ever cost you an opportunity? When life becomes uncertain, do I react immediately? Or do I pause, reflect, and respond wisely? What would change if I allowed principles, not emotions, to guide my decisions? Remember this. Every successful person feels fear. Every entrepreneur experiences doubt. Every investor faces uncertainty. Every leader encounters criticism. The goal is not to eliminate emotion. The goal is to prevent emotion from becoming your leader. Because when you master your emotions, you begin mastering your decisions. And when your decisions improve, your future improves. But emotional discipline alone cannot create extraordinary success. Eventually, every meaningful dream requires courage. It requires stepping into uncertainty. It requires moving forward even when the outcome is not guaranteed. And that brings us to our next psychological principle. Rich people take calculated risks. Chapter 8. They take calculated risks. Imagine standing on the bank of a wide river. On the opposite side lies everything you've ever dreamed of. A successful business. Financial freedom. A better life for your family. A future filled with possibilities. Between you and that future is the river. Some people see the water and immediately turn back. It's too dangerous, they say. Others run forward without thinking, jump into the river, and are quickly swept away by the powerful current. But a third person behaves differently. They study the river. They measure its depth. They watch the current. They gather the right equipment. They choose the safest place to cross. Then, with preparation and confidence, they begin the journey. That is the difference between reckless risk and calculated risk. Many people believe wealthy individuals are fearless gamblers. In reality, the opposite is often true. The richest people in the world rarely gamble with their future. They calculate. They prepare. They learn. Then they act. They understand that avoiding every risk is impossible. But taking unnecessary risks is equally dangerous. The goal is not to eliminate risk. The goal is to understand it. The story of Victoria and Sarah. Victoria and Sarah had dreamed of opening their own clothing businesses. For years, they worked ordinary jobs while saving money. Eventually, they had enough savings to begin. Victoria was excited. Without conducting much research, she rented an expensive store in one of the city's busiest shopping areas. She filled it with expensive furniture. She ordered large quantities of clothing based on what she personally liked. She assumed customers would naturally come. For the first few weeks, everything looked impressive. Friends congratulated her. People admired the beautiful store. But slowly, reality appeared. Many customers wanted different styles. Rent was much higher than expected. Sales couldn't cover the growing expenses. Within a year, Victoria was forced to close the business. She concluded, "Business is too risky." Sarah also wanted to open a clothing business. But her approach was very different. Before spending a single naira, she spent months researching the market. She spoke with experienced business owners. She studied customer preferences. Instead of opening a large shop immediately, she began selling online from a small room in her home. She tested different products. She carefully tracked which items sold best. She learned from every mistake. As demand increased, she slowly expanded. Only after building a loyal customer base did she open a physical store. 5 years later, Sarah owned several successful locations. One afternoon, Victoria visited her and quietly asked, "Weren't you afraid?" Sarah smiled. "Of course I was. But fear reminded me to prepare. It didn't stop me from moving forward." That is the psychology of calculated risk. Every great achievement begins with uncertainty. Think about the first airplane, the first successful business, the first medical breakthrough, the first person to sail across an unknown ocean. Every great achievement required someone to step into uncertainty. If they had waited until every doubt disappeared, many of history's greatest accomplishments would never have happened. The wealthy understand this. Waiting for perfect certainty often means waiting forever. Instead, they gather enough information to make an informed decision. Then they move. Because progress belongs to those who are willing to act despite uncertainty. The bridge builder. Imagine a deep canyon separating two villages. Most people stand at the edge, wishing there were a bridge. One engineer begins building. The first few wooden planks seem fragile. People criticize him. "It will never work. You're wasting your time." But he continues. Day after day. Board after board. Eventually, the bridge is completed. The same people who once doubted him now cross it every day. Calculated risks often look foolish in the beginning. Only after success arrives do they appear obvious. Courage is not the absence of fear. Many people believe courage means never feeling afraid. That isn't true. Imagine a firefighter entering a burning building to rescue a child. Do you think the firefighter feels no fear? Of course not. The difference is that purpose becomes stronger than fear. Rich people experience uncertainty just like everyone else. They worry. They question themselves. They wonder if they might fail. But instead of allowing fear to become the final decision maker, they use preparation, knowledge, and planning to reduce unnecessary risk. Fear becomes information, not imprisonment. The seed that stayed in the bag. Picture a farmer holding a bag of seeds. He knows there is always a possibility that the weather will change. Perhaps there will be too much rain. Perhaps too little. Perhaps insects will destroy part of the harvest. If he waits for perfect conditions, he will never plant anything. At the end of the year, his bag of seeds will remain exactly as it was. Safe, untouched, and completely unproductive. The farmer who plants wisely accepts uncertainty, because he understands that no harvest is possible without first placing the seed into the soil. Life is much the same. Every opportunity requires action. No investment, no business, no dream, no meaningful goal can grow while remaining safely inside the bag. Reflection. Take a quiet moment. Ask yourself honestly, have I avoided an opportunity simply because I was afraid? Do I spend more time worrying or preparing? What's one calculated risk that could improve my future if I plan for it carefully? Am I waiting for perfect certainty? Or am I willing to move forward with wisdom and preparation? Remember this. The greatest risk is not always failing. Sometimes, the greatest risk is spending your entire life wondering, what if I had tried? Rich people don't succeed because they avoid risk. They succeed because they learn to understand it, prepare for it, and face it with courage. They don't leap blindly. They step forward thoughtfully. Because every extraordinary life eventually requires an extraordinary decision. But after taking that step, one more challenge remains. How do you continue moving forward when motivation disappears? How do you remain productive on the days you don't feel inspired? That answer brings us to our next psychological principle. Rich people create systems instead of depending on motivation. Chapter 9. They create systems instead of depending on motivation. Imagine trying to fill a large water tank using only a bucket. Every morning you walk to the river. You fill the bucket. You carry it back. You pour it into the tank. Then you repeat the process again and again. Some days you feel energetic. Some days you feel exhausted. Some days it rains. Some days you're sick. On the days you don't feel like working, the tank receives no water. Now imagine someone else living next door. Instead of carrying buckets every day, they spend weeks building a pipeline from the river directly to the tank. At first, it looks like they are making slower progress. While you're already filling buckets, they're digging trenches. While you're collecting water, they're laying pipes. People laugh at them. Why waste so much time? But one morning, everything changes. They open a single valve. Fresh water begins flowing automatically. Day after day. Night after night. The pipeline keeps working, even while they sleep. That is the power of systems. Many people depend on motivation. Rich people depend on systems. Because motivation is temporary. Systems are dependable. The story of James and Daniel. James and Daniel had a common dream. Both wanted to become financially independent before the age of 50. On New Year's Day, they made identical promises. This year, everything will change. James felt incredibly motivated. He bought expensive notebooks, downloaded productivity apps, watched motivational videos for hours. For the first 2 weeks, he woke up at 5 every morning. He exercised, read books, worked on his side business. He felt unstoppable. Then life happened. One morning he overslept. The next evening he was tired. A family event interrupted his schedule. Soon his routine disappeared. Weeks turned into months. Eventually, James returned to his old habits. Every few months he became motivated again, only to repeat the same cycle. Daniel approached the year differently. Instead of asking, "How can I stay motivated?" he asked, "How can I make success easier to repeat?" He created simple systems. Every payday, part of his salary was automatically transferred into his investment account. He scheduled 1 hour every evening for learning. His phone automatically blocked social media during those hours. Every Saturday morning became business planning time. Every Sunday evening became financial review time. He didn't rely on feeling inspired. He relied on routines. Some days he felt motivated. Some days he didn't. But the system continued. 5 years later, the difference between the two friends was remarkable. James still searched for motivation. Daniel simply followed his habits. One afternoon, James asked, "How do you stay motivated all the time?" Daniel laughed. "I don't. That's why I build systems." That answer completely changed the conversation. Motivation is like the weather. Think about the weather. Some days the sun shines brightly. Other days storms appear unexpectedly. Would you build your house expecting sunshine every day? Of course not. You prepare for every season. Emotions work the same way. Some mornings you'll feel inspired. Other mornings you won't. If your success depends entirely on how you feel, your progress will always rise and fall with your emotions. Rich people understand this. Instead of asking, "Do I feel like doing it today?" they ask, "What does my system require me to do today?" That small change produces extraordinary consistency. The story of the clockmaker. There once lived an old clockmaker who was famous throughout his country. People traveled hundreds of miles just to buy one of his clocks. A young apprentice once asked him, "How do you make clocks that last for generations?" The old man smiled and placed hundreds of tiny gears on the table. "Do you see these?" he asked. "None of them is important by itself. But when every gear performs its small task every single day, time never stops." Success works exactly the same way. No single habit changes your life overnight. Reading 10 pages today won't make you wealthy tomorrow. Saving a small amount this month won't make you financially free next week. Exercising once won't transform your health. But when those small actions become connected like the gears inside a clock, the results become extraordinary. Systems turn ordinary actions into extraordinary outcomes. Tiny improvements create massive results. Imagine an airplane leaving Lagos for London. If the pilot changes the direction by only 1 degree at takeoff, the passengers probably won't notice. But thousands of kilometers later, that tiny change could lead the plane to an entirely different destination. Life follows the same principle. Improving by just a small amount every day may seem insignificant. But after years of consistency, the destination becomes completely different. This is why wealthy people rarely chase dramatic transformations. They focus on repeatable improvements. Small habits, repeated consistently, produce extraordinary lives. Build a life that works for you. The most successful people don't organize their lives around willpower alone. They design environments that support good decisions. If they want to save money, they automate it. If they want to read more, they keep books within reach. If they want to avoid distractions, they remove unnecessary temptations. They understand an important truth. Your environment quietly shapes your behavior. Instead of constantly fighting bad habits, they create systems that make good habits easier. Reflection. Take a quiet moment. Ask yourself, what part of my life depends too much on motivation? If I stopped feeling inspired tomorrow, would my financial goals continue moving forward? What simple system could I create this week? Could I automate my savings? Schedule my learning? Track my spending? Reduce distractions? Remember, successful people are not always more motivated. Often, they are simply more consistent. And consistency is rarely built on emotion. It is built on systems. Because when your habits become automatic, progress becomes inevitable. You stop starting over. You stop waiting for the perfect mood. You simply continue moving forward, one day at a time. But even strong systems raise one final question. What is all this wealth for? Is the purpose merely to become richer than everyone else? Or is there something far greater waiting beyond financial success? That question leads us to our final psychological principle. Rich people focus on legacy, not just wealth. Surround yourself with the right people. Introduction. Welcome back to Psychology of Success. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Every week, we share powerful lessons on success, mindset, psychology, discipline, and personal growth to help you become the strongest version of yourself. If you're serious about success, hit the subscribe button and join our growing community. Now let's begin. There is a famous saying, "Show me your friends, and I'll show you your future." At first, this may sound like an exaggeration. But the longer you study successful people, the more you realize how true it is. The people around you influence your thoughts. They influence your habits. They influence your beliefs. And ultimately, they influence your future. Many people focus entirely on improving themselves while ignoring the environment around them. But environment matters. Because no matter how strong you are, the people around you will either pull you upward or drag you downward. Today, You'll discover why surrounding yourself with the right people is one of the greatest success secrets of all time. Point 1. The Eagles and the Chickens. There is an old story about an eagle egg that somehow ended up in a chicken farm. The egg hatched among chickens. The young eagle grew up watching chickens. The chickens scratched the ground. The chickens stayed close to the earth. The chickens never flew high. Because the eagle was surrounded by chickens, it began believing it was one of them. Years passed. The eagle lived like a chicken, thought like a chicken, behaved like a chicken. Then one day it looked up and saw a magnificent eagle soaring through the sky. The eagle asked, "What is that beautiful bird?" The chickens replied, "That's an eagle. But don't think about it. You'll never be like that." So the eagle returned to scratching in the dirt, and lived its entire life below its potential. The lesson is powerful. Many people are living below their potential because they are surrounded by people who have accepted average lives. Be careful who influences your thinking. Point 2. The Crab Bucket Story. There is another famous story. Imagine a bucket full of crabs. If one crab tries to climb out, the others pull it back down. As a result, none of them escape. This is exactly what happens in many people's lives. The moment they begin improving themselves, certain people become uncomfortable. When they start a business, people laugh. When they pursue goals, people criticize. When they become disciplined, people mock them. Not because success is wrong, but because your growth reminds them of their own lack of action. Successful people understand this. They do not allow negativity to stop them. Sometimes growth requires leaving the crab bucket. Not because you think you're better than others, but because your future matters. Point 3. The Man Who Changed His Friends. A young man dreamed of becoming successful. He worked hard. He read books. He set goals. Yet year after year, nothing changed. One day, a mentor asked him a simple question. "Who do you spend the most time with?" The young man named 5 close friends. The mentor noticed something. Every one of those friends complained constantly. None had goals. None were interested in growth. None were working toward a better future. The mentor then gave him advice. "If you want a different life, spend time with people who are living differently." The young man followed the advice. He joined communities of ambitious people. He attended seminars. He found mentors. He surrounded himself with growth-minded individuals. Within a few years, his life changed dramatically. His income increased. His confidence improved. His mindset transformed. Nothing magical happened. His environment changed. And his environment changed him. Point 4. The Blacksmith's Fire. Imagine a blacksmith heating a piece of iron. Place the iron in fire long enough, and it becomes hot. Remove it from the fire, and it cools. Human beings are similar. We absorb the attitudes of those around us. Spend time around negative people, and negativity becomes normal. Spend time around disciplined people, and discipline becomes normal. Spend time around successful people, and success becomes believable. Environment shapes behavior. That is why successful people protect their environment carefully. Point 5. The Bamboo Forest Lesson. A bamboo tree rarely grows alone. Bamboo forests grow together. Their root systems connect beneath the ground. This allows them to support one another during storms. The lesson is simple. Success becomes easier when you are surrounded by people moving in the same direction. Everyone needs encouragement. Everyone needs accountability. Everyone needs support. The strongest people are not always those who work alone. Often, they are those who build strong networks. The right people can inspire you when motivation disappears. They can encourage you when challenges arise. They can remind you of your goals when you forget. Never underestimate the power of positive relationships. Transition to Part 2 of Success Secret Number 6. In the next section, we'll explore the Lion and the Sheep Story. How mentors accelerate success. The danger of negative influences. Why successful people guard their circle. The story of Warren Buffett's partner. How to build a success network from scratch. The most important relationship lesson of all. And remember, you do not rise to the level of your goals. You often rise to the level of the people around you. Point 6. The Lion and the Sheep. There is an old lesson that has been passed down for generations. A lion raised among sheep may begin behaving like a sheep. It may eat when they eat, move when they move, hide when they hide. But deep inside, it remains a lion. One day, another lion appears. The young lion sees something different. Strength, confidence, courage, power. For the first time, it realizes what it is capable of becoming. The lesson is simple. Many people have forgotten their potential because they are surrounded by people who do not challenge them to grow. The right people remind you of what is possible. They help you see strengths you cannot yet see in yourself. Sometimes one conversation can change your entire future. Sometimes one mentor can change your entire life. Never underestimate the power of being around people who inspire greatness. Point 7. The Wooden Log Story. Imagine a fire burning brightly in the night. Now imagine removing one burning log and placing it by itself. At first, it remains hot. But slowly the flame weakens. Eventually it grows cold. Now place that same log back into the fire. Almost immediately it begins burning again. Human beings are very similar. When you isolate yourself from positive influences, your motivation often fades. Your goals become harder to maintain. Your discipline weakens. But when you spend time with focused, ambitious, and encouraging people, your energy increases. You begin thinking bigger. You begin acting differently. You begin believing more is possible. The people around you either fuel your fire or extinguish it. Choose wisely. Point 8. The Mentor Who Saved 10 Years. A young entrepreneur once approached a successful business owner and asked, "What's the fastest way to achieve success?" The older man smiled and replied, "Find someone who has already walked the path." The young entrepreneur followed the advice. Instead of learning every lesson through trial and error, he found mentors. He listened carefully. He asked questions. He studied their mistakes. He applied their wisdom. Years later, he realized something remarkable. The mentor had saved him years of frustration, years of mistakes, years of unnecessary setbacks. One good mentor can shorten your learning curve dramatically. This is why successful people seek guidance. They understand that wisdom is often borrowed before it is earned. You do not have to figure everything out alone. Learn from people who have already achieved what you hope to achieve. Point 9. The Gardener's Lesson. Imagine a gardener planting beautiful flowers. The gardener waters them, protects them, cares for them. But something else begins growing. Weeds. At first, the weeds seem harmless, small, unimportant, easy to ignore. But over time, they spread. They steal nutrients. They block sunlight. They limit growth. Eventually, the gardener must make a decision. Remove the weeds or lose the flowers. Relationships can work the same way. Not every influence in your life is healthy. Some people constantly spread negativity. Some encourage bad habits. Some discourage growth. Some criticize every dream. If you allow those influences to dominate your environment, they can slowly limit your potential. Successful people understand the importance of protecting their mental garden. They carefully choose what influences they allow into their lives. Point 10. The Three Friends. There is an old lesson that says every person should have 3 types of friends. The first friend is someone ahead of you. Someone you can learn from. Someone whose experience can guide you. The second friend is someone beside you. Someone growing alongside you. Someone who understands your challenges because they are walking a similar path. The third friend is someone behind you. Someone you can encourage. Someone you can help. Someone who benefits from your experience. This creates a powerful cycle of growth. You learn from those ahead. You grow with those beside. You serve those behind. And through this process, everyone becomes stronger. Successful people understand that relationships are not only about receiving, They are also about contributing. The more value you bring to others, the more valuable your network becomes. The most important relationship lesson of all. After all these stories, there is one final lesson. The most important person you spend time with is yourself. Think about it. You hear your own thoughts every day. You listen to your own inner voice constantly. You carry your beliefs everywhere you go. If your self-talk is negative, discouraging, and limiting, it becomes difficult to succeed. But if your inner voice is encouraging, disciplined, and growth-oriented, it becomes easier to move forward. Surrounding yourself with the right people begins by becoming the right person. Become someone who inspires growth. Become someone who encourages others. Become someone who takes responsibility. Become someone who pursues excellence. Because the quality of your relationships often reflects the quality of your character. As we conclude Success Secret Part 6, remember these powerful lessons. The people around you shape your future. Environment influences behavior. Mentors accelerate growth. Negative influences slow progress. Positive relationships create opportunities. Success is rarely achieved alone. The right people can challenge you, support you, encourage you, and help you become the person you were meant to be. Take a moment today and ask yourself, who am I becoming because of the people around me? And perhaps even more importantly, who are the people around me helping me become? Your answer may reveal the direction of your future. If you found value in this lesson, subscribe to Psychology of Success and turn on notifications. Every week, we share powerful lessons on success, mindset, discipline, psychology, and personal growth. Like this video. Share it with someone who inspires you. And comment below. Who is one person that has had a positive impact on your life? Your story might encourage someone else. Signature closing. Remember, you become stronger when you surround yourself with strength. You become wiser when you learn from wisdom. You become more successful when you spend time with people who inspire growth. Point 11. The Eagle's Circle. One day, a young eagle asked an older eagle, "Why do you spend so much time flying with strong eagles?" The older eagle replied, "Because eagles learn to soar by flying with eagles." The young eagle thought about this. Then he asked, "What happens if an eagle spends all its time with birds that never leave the ground?" The older eagle smiled. "Eventually, it forgets how high it can fly." This lesson applies to every area of life. If you spend most of your time around people who complain, negativity begins to feel normal. If you spend most of your time around people who make excuses, excuses begin to feel reasonable. But if you spend time around people who pursue excellence, growth begins to feel natural. Your standards are often shaped by the people closest to you. Successful people understand this. That is why they intentionally place themselves in environments where growth is expected. Because expectations become habits. And habits become destiny. Point 12. The Story of the Young Musician. There was once a young musician who dreamed of becoming great. He practiced every day. He studied music constantly. Yet he felt stuck. One day he met a world-class musician. The young man was nervous. He expected secrets, special techniques, hidden formulas. Instead, the experienced musician gave him simple advice. "Spend more time around people who are better than you." The young man followed the advice. He joined groups of skilled musicians. At first he felt intimidated. Everyone seemed more talented. Everyone seemed more experienced. But over time something incredible happened. His standards rose. His skills improved. His confidence grew. Why? Because excellence is contagious. The people around you often determine the level you believe is possible. Point 13. The Boat and the Anchor. Imagine rowing a boat across a lake. You row with all your strength. Hour after hour. Day after day. But the boat barely moves. Eventually you discover the problem. An anchor is dragging along the bottom. No matter how hard you row, the anchor limits your progress. Many people experience this in life. They work hard. They set goals. They dream big. But certain relationships keep pulling them backward. Negative influences, constant criticism, endless drama, discouragement. The problem is not always a lack of effort. Sometimes the problem is the anchor. Success often requires identifying what is holding you back and having the courage to let it go. Point 14. The King's Advisors. Long ago, a king ruled a prosperous kingdom. Every important decision he made was influenced by the advisors around him. Some advisors were wise. Some were foolish. Over time, the king noticed a pattern. Whenever he listened to wise advisors, the kingdom prospered. Whenever he listened to foolish advisors, problems followed. Eventually, he learned a valuable lesson. The quality of your decisions often depends on the quality of the voices you allow into your life. Today, your advisors may not sit in a royal palace. They may be friends, podcasts, books, mentors, videos, communities. The question remains the same. Who is influencing your thinking? Because your future is often shaped by the voices you listen to most. Point 15. The Marathon Runners. A group of runners entered a marathon. Some trained with people who constantly complained. Every practice session was filled with negativity. Every challenge became an excuse. Every obstacle became a reason to quit. Another group trained differently. They encouraged each other. They pushed each other. They celebrated progress. They focused on solutions. Months later, the difference was obvious. One group became stronger. The other remained stuck. The lesson is simple. The people around you can either multiply your motivation or drain it. That is why successful people are selective about their environment. Not because they dislike others, but because they understand the power of influence. Point 16. The Library of Great Minds. Many people say, "I don't know successful people." But here's something important. You can still surround yourself with successful minds. Every book is a conversation. Every biography is mentorship. Every lesson from a great thinker becomes part of your environment. When you read the stories of successful people, you gain access to decades of wisdom. You learn from their mistakes. You learn from their experiences. You learn from their victories. Never underestimate the power of books. A single book can change the direction of a life. A single idea can create a breakthrough. If you cannot find great people around you, begin by filling your mind with great ideas. Point 17. The Garden of Possibility. Imagine two gardens. One receives care, attention, and nourishment. The other is neglected. Years later, the difference is dramatic. The same principle applies to relationships. The strongest relationships do not happen by accident. They require investment, encouragement, trust, support. Successful people build networks intentionally. They help others. They provide value. They create genuine connections. And over time, those relationships become one of their greatest assets. Point 18. The Bridge Builder. A traveler once spent years building bridges. People asked him why. He replied, "Because every bridge creates a new opportunity." Relationships are bridges. Every positive connection expands your world. It introduces new ideas, new opportunities, new perspectives, new possibilities. Never burn bridges unnecessarily. The people you meet today may play an important role in your future tomorrow. Success Secret Part 6, continued. The story of the boy who changed his future. There was once a young boy who grew up in a neighborhood where very few people believed in big dreams. Every day he heard the same words. Be realistic. People like us don't become successful. Dreaming is a waste of time. Just accept your situation. At first, he believed them. After all, these were the voices he heard every day. These were the people around him. These were the people he trusted. As the years passed, the boy stopped dreaming. He stopped believing. He stopped imagining a better future. Then one day, something unexpected happened. A teacher noticed him sitting quietly at the back of a classroom. The teacher saw potential in him. potential that the boy could not yet see in himself. One afternoon, the teacher asked him a question. "What do you want to become?" The boy laughed. No one had ever asked him that before. He shrugged and replied, "It doesn't matter." The teacher looked him in the eyes and said something he would never forget. "It matters because your future begins with what you believe is possible." Those words stayed with him. For the first time, someone believed in him. For the first time, someone challenged the limits he had accepted. The teacher began encouraging him, recommending books, sharing advice, teaching him new ways to think. Slowly, the boy's mindset began to change. Then his habits changed. Then his confidence changed. Then his future changed. Years later, the boy became successful. When people asked what changed his life, he did not mention money. He did not mention luck. He did not mention talent. He spoke about one person, one teacher, one positive influence, one voice that refused to let him settle for less than his potential. Never underestimate the power of one encouraging person. Sometimes a single relationship can change the direction of an entire life. The Old Man and the Two Friends. There was once an old man who lived in a small village. As he approached the final years of his life, people often came to him for wisdom. One day a young man asked him, "What is the secret to success?" The old man smiled. Instead of answering directly, he told a story. "When I was young, I had two close friends. The first friend always complained. He complained about the weather. He complained about opportunities. He complained about successful people. He blamed everyone for his problems. The second friend was different. He looked for solutions. He learned from mistakes. He believed challenges could be overcome. He focused on growth." The old man paused. Then he continued, "I spent years listening to both of them. Eventually I noticed something. The first friend remained exactly where he started. The second friend continued growing. His life improved every year." The young man asked, "What happened next?" The old man smiled. "I became very careful about which voice I listened to most." The lesson is powerful. Every day, people influence your thinking. Some push you toward growth. Others pull you toward excuses. Some encourage action. Others encourage fear. The future often belongs to those who choose their influences wise. The story of the young athlete. There was once a young athlete with extraordinary talent. Coaches praised him. Teachers admired him. Friends expected him to become successful. Yet something strange happened. His progress stopped. Year after year, he remained average. One day a coach decided to investigate. The coach watched carefully. Then he noticed the problem. The athlete spent most of his time around people who had no ambition. Whenever he talked about goals, they laughed. Whenever he discussed improvement, they mocked him. Whenever he trained hard, they called him obsessed. Over time, their attitudes became his attitudes. Their limitations became his limitations. The coach pulled him aside. He said, "If you spend your life around people who are comfortable being average, eventually average will become comfortable for you." Those words hit him hard. The young athlete began making changes. He joined stronger teams, found disciplined training partners, started spending time with people who shared his goals. The transformation was remarkable. His performance improved. His confidence grew. His mindset changed. Years later, he became a champion. Not because his talent changed, but because his environment changed. Sometimes success begins with changing who you spend time with. The man who carried everyone. There was once a man who spent his entire life trying to please everyone. Whenever someone needed help, he said yes. Whenever someone asked for his time, he gave it. Whenever someone demanded his energy, he surrendered it. At first, people praised him. They called him kind, generous, selfless. But something slowly began happening. His dreams started disappearing. His goals remained unfinished. His potential remained unexplored. One day he met an elderly traveler. The traveler listened carefully to his story. Then he asked a simple question. If you spend your entire life carrying everyone else, who will carry your future? The man had no answer. For years he had protected everyone else's priorities while neglecting his own. That conversation changed his life. He learned an important lesson. Helping others is important. But you must not sacrifice your entire future in the process. The right people will support your growth. They will not demand that you abandon it. Healthy relationships create strength. Unhealthy relationships create exhaustion. Learn the difference. The final emotional lesson. As we approach the end of this success secret, I want you to imagine something. Imagine yourself 10 years from now. Picture the person you hope to become. The confidence. The success. The wisdom. The growth. Now ask yourself, who is helping me become that person? And just as importantly, who is preventing me from becoming that person? These questions are not easy, but they are necessary. Because your future is being shaped right now. By conversations. By influences. By relationships. By the people who surround you every day. Choose wisely. Because the right people can inspire greatness. They can encourage courage. They can strengthen your discipline. They can remind you of your potential when you've forgotten it. And sometimes, they can change your life forever. Remember, you don't become successful alone. But you do choose who joins you on the journey. Choose people who challenge you. Choose people who inspire you. Choose people who believe in growth. Choose people who help you become the best version of yourself. And one day, you'll look back and realize that one of the greatest success secrets was never just about what you knew. It was about who walked beside you. Success Secret Part 6 continued. The story of the man who sat in the back row. There was once a young man who attended a success seminar. He almost didn't go. Part of him believed it would be a waste of time. Another part of him was curious. So he bought the cheapest ticket he could find and sat in the very last row. As he looked around the room, he noticed something interesting. The people there were different from the people he usually spent time with. They talked about goals. They talked about ideas. They talked about books they were reading. They discussed business, discipline, growth, and opportunity. At first, he felt uncomfortable. He felt out of place. He wondered if he belonged there. During a break, he overheard a conversation between two strangers. One was talking about a business he wanted to start. The other was discussing lessons he had learned from failure. The young man listened carefully. For the first time in years, he was surrounded by people who spoke about possibilities instead of problems. He returned the next day. Then he attended another event. Then another. Slowly, his thinking began to change. The things that once seemed impossible now seemed achievable. The goals that once seemed unrealistic now seemed attainable. Years later, he reflected on what had happened. The seminar did not magically make him successful. The speakers did not hand him success. What changed his life was exposure. He entered a new environment. He surrounded himself with people who thought differently. And eventually, their mindset influenced his own. Sometimes the first step toward a new life is entering a new room. The story of the storm and the trees. In a forest, there stood two trees. One tree stood completely alone. The other grew among many strong trees. Then one year, a powerful storm arrived. The winds were stronger than anything the forest had seen in decades. The lone tree faced the storm by itself. With no support around it, it struggled against every gust of wind. Meanwhile, the trees growing together supported one another. Their roots were connected beneath the ground. Their branches absorbed the force of the wind together. When the storm finally ended, the lone tree had fallen. But many of the connected trees remained standing. Life often works the same way. Everyone experiences storms. Everyone faces difficulties. Everyone encounters moments of uncertainty. The question is, who is standing beside you when the storm arrives? The right people do not remove challenges from your life, but they help you endure them. Their encouragement gives you strength. Their wisdom provides guidance. Their support helps you continue when quitting seems easier. Never underestimate the power of a strong support system. The story of the dream killer. A young woman dreamed of becoming an author. She loved writing. She filled notebooks with ideas. She spent hours creating stories. One evening, she shared her dream with someone she trusted. Instead of encouragement, she received criticism. Writing isn't a real career. Nobody will read your work. You should focus on something practical. The comments hurt. Over time, she shared her dream with other people. Many responded the same way. Slowly, she stopped writing. Years passed. The dream faded. Then one day she attended a local writing group. For the first time, she met people who loved writing. People who encouraged creativity. People who believed improvement was possible. People who supported one another. Their influence reignited something inside her. She started writing again. 1 page became 10 pages. 10 pages became a manuscript. Eventually, she published her first book. The lesson is powerful. Some people water your dreams. Others pull them out by the roots. Learn to recognize the difference. And protect your dreams accordingly. The lesson of the mirror. Have you ever noticed that people often become similar to those they spend the most time with? Attitudes spread. Habits spread. Beliefs spread. Confidence spreads. Negativity spreads. Success leaves clues. But so does failure. Imagine spending 10 years around people who constantly complain. How would that affect your mindset? Now imagine spending 10 years around people who focus on solutions. How would that affect your future? Your environment acts like a mirror. Over time, it reflects itself in your behavior. This is why successful people pay close attention to their circle. They understand that influence is often invisible. You may not notice it today. You may not notice it tomorrow. But over months and years, influence becomes destiny. The bridge to your future. Think about every successful person you admire. At some point, someone helped them. A mentor. A teacher. A coach. A friend. A parent. A business partner. Very few people achieve greatness entirely alone. Success is often built through relationships. The right relationship can introduce you to a new opportunity. The right relationship can teach you a valuable lesson. The right relationship can help you see possibilities you never noticed before. That is why building meaningful relationships is not just a social skill. It is a success skill. Treat people with respect. Listen carefully. Offer value. Be reliable. Be trustworthy. Because every meaningful relationship becomes a bridge. And sometimes that bridge leads to opportunities you cannot yet imagine. The final challenge. Before this video ends, I want to challenge you. Take a piece of paper. Write down the names of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Then ask yourself 3 questions. Do these people inspire growth? Do these people encourage my goals? Do these people help me become a better version of myself? If the answer is yes, be grateful. Invest in those relationships. Protect them. Strengthen them. If the answer is no, it may be time to make some changes. That does not mean abandoning people. It means becoming intentional about your environment. Spend more time with people who inspire you. Learn from people who challenge you. Seek out people who are growing. And become the kind of person who helps others grow as well. Because one of the most important decisions you will ever make is deciding who gets access to your mind, your time, and your future. The people around you are not just part of your life. They are helping shape the person you will become. Choose wisely. Choose growth. Choose excellence. Choose relationships that move you closer to your purpose. And remember, you don't rise alone. You rise with the people you choose to walk beside. Thank you for watching Psychology of Success. If this video brought you value, subscribe, like, and share it with someone who is committed to growth. Remember, success is not something you find, it's something you build, one decision at a time. Because the future belongs to those who take action today. Master your mind. Transform your life. I'll see you in the next lesson. Take responsibility for your life. Introduction. Welcome back to Psychology of Success. Before we begin today's lesson, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Every week, we share powerful lessons on success, discipline, psychology, and personal growth to help you become the best version of yourself. If you're ready to stop making excuses and start building the life you deserve, subscribe now and join our growing community. Now let's begin. Imagine two people facing the exact same storm. Both lose their jobs. Both struggle financially. Both feel disappointed. One person spends every day blaming the economy, other people, and bad luck. The other asks one simple question: what can I do next? That single question changes everything. One person stays trapped in blame. The other begins building a better future. Today, you'll discover one of the greatest success secrets. The moment you take responsibility for your life is the moment you begin to take back your power. Point 1. The man in the mirror. There was once a businessman who seemed to have every excuse for why his life wasn't improving. He blamed his boss. He blamed his childhood. He blamed the government. He blamed the economy. Every conversation ended the same way. It isn't my fault. One morning, after another disappointing day, he looked into the mirror. For the first time, he asked himself a different question. What if I've been waiting for everyone else to change while refusing to change myself? That question changed his life. He stopped complaining. He learned new skills. He improved his habits. He accepted responsibility for the things he could control. His life didn't improve overnight. But it improved because he changed. The mirror became a reminder that real change begins within. Whenever you're tempted to blame everything around you, remember the man in the mirror. Sometimes the greatest breakthrough starts with an honest conversation with yourself. Point 2. The two brothers. There were two brothers who grew up in a difficult home. Both experienced hardship. Both faced the same challenges. Years later, one brother became successful. The other struggled. A reporter asked each of them the same question. Why did your life turn out this way? The successful brother answered. Because of where I came from, I decided I wanted something different. The struggling brother answered. Because of where I came from, I never had a chance. They experienced the same past. But they chose different responses. Your past influences you. It does not have to define you. You may not be responsible for everything that happened to you. But you can choose how you respond today. That choice shapes your future. Point 3. The captain of the ship. Imagine a ship caught in a violent storm. The waves are enormous. The wind is fierce. The captain cannot control the weather. He cannot stop the storm. But he can control how he steers the ship. Life is much the same. You cannot control every challenge that comes your way. You cannot control every setback. You cannot control every person's actions. But you can control your decisions, your attitude, your effort, your response. The captain who keeps steering has a chance to reach the shore. The one who gives up allows the storm to decide his future. Take the wheel of your own life. Don't hand it to circumstances. Point 4. The stonemason. A traveler once met three stonemasons working at the same construction site. He asked the first, "What are you doing?" The man replied, "I'm breaking rocks." He asked the second, "What are you doing?" The second answered, "I'm earning a living." Then he asked the third, "What are you doing?" The third smiled and said, "I'm helping build a great cathedral that will inspire people for generations." All three were doing the same work. But only one saw purpose in it. Responsibility is not only about accepting challenges. It is also about choosing the meaning you give to your work and your life. People with purpose are often more resilient because they understand why they keep moving forward. Transition. In the next section, we'll explore more powerful stories, including the farmer who stopped complaining, the broken arrow, the sculptor and the stone, the choice between excuses and action, How responsibility creates freedom. Because success begins the moment you stop asking, "Who's to blame?" and start asking, "What can I do now?" Point 5. The farmer who stopped complaining. There once lived a farmer in a small village. Every morning before sunrise he walked through his fields. But instead of appreciating what he had, he always found something to complain about. If the rain came, he complained there was too much water. If the sun shined brightly, he complained the heat was unbearable. If the wind blew, he blamed the weather for damaging his crops. If there was no wind, he blamed the still air. Nothing was ever enough. One day, an elderly neighbor quietly watched him complain for nearly an hour. When the farmer finally finished, the old man smiled and asked, "My friend, if every season is your enemy, when will you ever plant in peace?" The farmer laughed. "I can't control the weather." The old man nodded. "Exactly. So why are you giving your energy to something you cannot control?" Those words stayed in the farmer's mind. The next morning, something changed. The rain still fell. The wind still blew. The sun still rose. But instead of complaining, he asked, "What can I do with today's conditions?" When heavy rain arrived, he improved his drainage. When the sun became intense, he watered earlier in the morning. When pests appeared, he searched for solutions instead of excuses. Month after month, his harvest improved. People in the village assumed he had become lucky. But the farmer knew the truth. His success began the day he stopped blaming the weather and started taking responsibility for his response. Life works the same way. There will always be storms. There will always be obstacles. There will always be things outside your control. The question is not whether life will be difficult. The question is whether you will spend your energy complaining about the problem or working toward the solution. Successful people don't waste their lives wishing reality were different. They ask, "What can I do next?" That simple question changes everything. Point 6. The broken arrow. A wise teacher once gathered his students and held up an arrow. He snapped it in half with his hands. The students looked confused. Then he picked up another arrow. Instead of breaking it, he placed it on the bow and aimed it toward the sky. He turned to his students and said, "This arrow has a purpose because it is pointed in the right direction." Then he held up the broken arrow again. "It no longer matters how beautiful this arrow once was. It cannot reach its destination because it has lost its direction." The teacher paused before continuing. "Many people spend years blaming the wind for missing the target. But the real problem is that they never chose a direction." Those words filled the room with silence. How many people wake up every morning without a clear purpose? How many drift through life, hoping success will somehow find them? Responsibility begins with choosing a direction. You don't need to know every step. But you do need to decide where you're aiming. Without direction, effort is scattered. With direction, even small daily actions begin to move you closer to your goals. The teacher smiled and said one final sentence. "The wind may slow an arrow, but only a lack of direction prevents it from ever reaching the target." Remember this whenever life becomes difficult. Do not spend all your energy blaming the wind. Aim your life with purpose. Then keep moving forward. Point 7. The sculptor and the stone. Many years ago, a traveler visited the workshop of a famous sculptor. In one corner of the workshop stood a massive block of marble. The traveler asked, "How do you turn an ordinary stone into a masterpiece?" The sculptor smiled. "I don't create the masterpiece." The traveler looked puzzled. The sculptor walked toward the stone and gently placed his hand on it. "The masterpiece is already inside. My responsibility is simply to remove everything that doesn't belong." Day after day, the sculptor chipped away at the stone. Sometimes the progress was barely noticeable. Sometimes entire days passed with only a few small changes. But he never stopped. Months later, a magnificent statue stood where the rough stone had once been. The traveler stared in amazement. The sculptor quietly said, "Greatness was always there. It simply required patience, discipline, and responsibility." The lesson applies to every one of us. Inside you are abilities that may still be hidden, potential that has not yet been revealed, dreams that are waiting to be brought to life. But they cannot appear on their own. Every day you must chip away at fear, at excuses, at laziness, at doubt, at negative habits. Success is not about becoming someone completely different. It is about becoming who you were capable of being all along. And that begins the moment you accept responsibility for your own growth. Every small improvement is another piece of unnecessary stone removed. One day, people will admire the finished masterpiece. They may call you talented. They may call you lucky. But only you will know how many days you spent doing the quiet work that no one else could see. The masterpiece wasn't created in one day. It was revealed one decision at a time. Success Secret Part 7 continued. The story of J.K. Rowling, when rejection isn't the end. There was a time when millions of people around the world had never heard the name J.K. Rowling. Long before her books inspired readers across generations, her life looked very different. She faced financial hardship. She struggled as a single mother. She has spoken publicly about going through a difficult period in which she felt that many parts of her life had fallen apart. Yet she held on to one dream. She wanted to become a writer. She spent countless hours writing a story about a young boy who discovers he is a wizard. When she finished the manuscript, she believed in it. But believing in something does not always mean others will believe in it immediately. Publisher after publisher rejected her work. Imagine opening another rejection letter. Imagine wondering if your dream would ever become reality. Many people would have stopped. Many would have told themselves, maybe everyone is right. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I should give up. But she didn't. She kept trying until one publisher finally decided to give her manuscript a chance. That manuscript became the first book in the Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone series. The books went on to become one of the best-selling series in history. Think about what would have happened if she had accepted rejection as the final answer. The world would have lost one of its most beloved stories. The lesson is clear. Rejection is not always a verdict. Sometimes it is simply part of the journey. Your responsibility is not to control how everyone responds. Your responsibility is to keep improving your work and continue moving forward. The story of Michael Jordan, turning disappointment into determination. Many people know Michael Jordan as one of the greatest basketball players of all time. But fewer people know the story behind his success. As a teenager, he was deeply disappointed after not making the varsity basketball team during one stage of his high school career. He later described how painful that experience was. Instead of allowing disappointment to define him, he made a decision. He would work harder. He practiced relentlessly. He focused on improving every weakness. He didn't spend months blaming the coach. He didn't convince himself that basketball wasn't for him. He accepted that he had more work to do. Years later, he became known for his relentless work ethic. One of his most famous reflections captures this mindset. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed. Those words remind us of something important. Greatness is rarely built on comfort. It is built on consistent effort after disappointment. Every setback became another reason for him to improve. Every obstacle became another opportunity to grow. That is what taking responsibility looks like. The story of Nelson Mandela, choosing your response. There are moments in history that remind us of the incredible strength of the human spirit. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison. 27 years. Many people would expect someone in that situation to leave prison filled with bitterness. Yet when he was released, he spoke about the importance of reconciliation rather than revenge. This did not erase the suffering he experienced. But it demonstrated an extraordinary principle. We cannot always choose what happens to us. We can choose how we respond. Mandela understood that allowing anger to control the rest of his life would be another form of imprisonment. Instead, he chose a different path. That choice required remarkable courage and responsibility. Whether in leadership, work, or personal growth, this lesson remains powerful. Your response to hardship often shapes your future more than the hardship itself. The lesson for your own life. Perhaps your challenge is different. Maybe you have been rejected. Maybe you've failed an exam. Maybe your business has struggled. Maybe you've been told your dreams are unrealistic. Those experiences are painful. But they do not have to define the rest of your story. Every person you've heard about today faced moments when giving up would have been easier. The difference is that they continued. Not because success was guaranteed, but because they chose to take responsibility for what they could control. Their effort. Their attitude. Their preparation. Their willingness to keep going. One decision rarely changes a life overnight. But thousands of responsible decisions, made consistently over time, can transform an ordinary life into an extraordinary one. Perhaps the story people admire about your life will not begin with your success. Perhaps it will begin with the moment you decided to stop making excuses and start taking responsibility. The story of Thomas Edison, responsibility before success. Whenever people hear the name Thomas Edison, they often think of the electric light bulb. What many people don't see are the years of work behind that achievement. Edison spent countless hours experimenting. Many attempts did not produce the result he wanted. Imagine working day after day. Testing ideas. Changing designs. Trying again. Most people would eventually say, "This isn't working." But Edison looked at failure differently. He treated every unsuccessful attempt as information. Each experiment taught him something. Each mistake eliminated another wrong path. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" he asked, "What can this teach me?" That simple shift made all the difference. Success is rarely about getting everything right the first time. It is about accepting responsibility for learning every time something goes wrong. Imagine if Edison had stopped after the first setback. Or the 10th. Or the 100th. History might have looked very different. Great achievements often belong to people who keep working long after others have stopped. The lesson is not that you must never fail. The lesson is that every failure carries a responsibility. Learn from it. Improve because of it. Then move forward. The story of Walt Disney, believing when others didn't. Before Walt Disney built one of the world's most recognized entertainment companies, life was far from easy. Early in his career, he experienced business failures. Projects didn't always succeed. Money was often scarce. There were moments when his dreams seemed impossible. Yet he continued creating. He continued imagining. He continued building. Many people around him doubted his vision. But he understood something important. If he stopped believing in his dreams simply because others could not see it, the dream would never become reality. Responsibility sometimes means protecting your vision even when no one else understands it. There will always be people who question your goals. Some will criticize. Some will laugh. Some will tell you it cannot be done. You cannot control their opinions. But you can control whether you continue. Dreams survive when responsibility is stronger than doubt. The story of the mountain climber. A young climber stood at the foot of a towering mountain. Looking up, the peak seemed impossible to reach. An older climber noticed his fear. He walked over and asked, "What are you looking at?" "The top," the young man replied. "It seems too far." The older climber smiled. "That is your problem." The young man looked confused. "You are trying to climb the whole mountain in your mind. Instead, climb the next step." Those words changed everything. The young climber stopped worrying about the entire journey. He focused on the next step. Then another. Then another. Hours later, he reached the summit. Success often works the same way. People become overwhelmed because they focus on the entire journey instead of today's responsibility. Today's responsibility might be reading 10 pages, saving a small amount of money, practicing one skill, recording one video, making one phone call. Small responsibilities, repeated consistently, create extraordinary results. Don't let the size of your dream stop you. Simply take the next step. The story of the clockmaker. There once lived an old clockmaker whose clocks were known throughout the country for their precision. One day, a young apprentice asked, "How do you build something so perfect?" The old man smiled. "I don't focus on finishing the entire clock. I focus on placing each tiny gear exactly where it belongs." The apprentice watched as the old man spent hours working on parts most customers would never even see. Finally, the apprentice asked, "Does every tiny detail really matter?" The old man answered, "Greatness is simply thousands of small responsibilities completed with excellence." That lesson applies to every dream. People admire the finished result. They rarely see the countless small decisions behind it. The successful student is built by daily study. The successful athlete is built by daily practice. The successful entrepreneur is built by daily discipline. Extraordinary lives are built through ordinary responsibilities completed consistently. The power of choosing action. Right now, somewhere in the world, two people are thinking about the same dream. One keeps waiting. Waiting for confidence. Waiting for perfect timing. Waiting for better circumstances. The other starts today. The first person hopes. The second person acts. Months later, one still has excuses. The other has experience. Years later, one still has dreams. The other has results. Action is the bridge between intention and achievement. Responsibility means building that bridge one decision at a time. Don't wait for life to become easier. Become stronger. Don't wait until you feel ready. Prepare and begin. Don't wait for someone else to change your future. Take responsibility for writing your own story. Because in the end, your life will not be remembered for the excuses you made. It will be remembered for the choices you had the courage to make. Every sunrise gives you another opportunity. Another chance to improve. Another chance to grow. Another chance to become the person you were created to be. Take that chance. Start today. The future is waiting, not for your excuses, but for your actions. Success Secret Part 7, continued. The story of the bamboo builder. There was once a master builder who was known throughout the country for constructing the strongest bamboo bridges. People traveled from distant villages just to watch him work. One day, a young apprentice asked if he could learn the secret. The master smiled and agreed. The next morning, they walked into a forest. The apprentice expected to begin building immediately. Instead, the master spent hours carefully selecting bamboo. He rejected one stalk after another. "This one is too weak. This one has hidden cracks. This one will not last." The apprentice became impatient. "Master," he said, "we have wasted the entire morning and built nothing." The old man looked at him and replied, "No, today we have already begun building." The apprentice was confused. The master continued, "A weak foundation creates a weak bridge. If I rush this step, people may one day lose their lives because of my impatience." Several weeks later, the bridge was completed. It withstood heavy rains, powerful winds, and countless travelers. Years passed. The bridge remained strong. The apprentice finally understood. Success is built long before anyone notices it. The decisions nobody applauds often determine the results everyone admires. In your own life, responsibility means preparing when nobody is watching. Studying when nobody is forcing you. Practicing when nobody is cheering. Improving when nobody is paying attention. Because one day, your hidden discipline becomes visible success. The story of the father's watch. A father owned an old wristwatch that had belonged to his own father. It wasn't expensive. It wasn't made of gold. But it represented something priceless. Before his son left home to begin his adult life, the father handed him the watch. "My father gave this to me," he said. "He told me that every second is a gift." The son smiled politely. Years passed. He chased comfort instead of purpose. He delayed important decisions. He constantly said, "I'll start tomorrow." One day, he returned home. His father was much older now. The son noticed the watch sitting on the table. Its hands had stopped moving. Quietly, the father said, "The watch can be repaired." But time cannot. Those words struck the son deeply. He realized he had spent years waiting for the perfect moment. The perfect job. The perfect opportunity. The perfect circumstances. Meanwhile, life had continued moving forward. That very day, he made a decision. He stopped postponing his dreams. He enrolled in school. Started his business. Improved his health. Repaired broken relationships. Years later, people admired his success. But he always remembered the silent lesson of the broken watch. Responsibility means respecting the time you have been given. Because every day you delay the life you want is one day you can never recover. The story of the fisherman. In a small coastal village lived an old fisherman. Every morning before sunrise he prepared his boat. One day, a young man asked, "How do you always know where to find fish?" The fisherman smiled. "I don't." The young man looked confused. "I simply prepare every day. Some days I return with a full boat. Some days I return with very little. But if I never leave the shore, I guarantee I catch nothing." The young man laughed. Years later, those words came back to him. How many people never leave the shore? How many dreams remain dreams because people refuse to begin? Fear keeps them waiting. Comfort keeps them waiting. Excuses keep them waiting. But opportunities are rarely found by people standing safely on the shore. Responsibility often begins with launching the boat. Taking the first step. Accepting uncertainty. Moving forward anyway. The man who planted trees. There once lived an elderly man who spent every day planting trees. Children passing by laughed at him. "Why are you planting trees? You'll never live long enough to enjoy their shade." The old man smiled warmly. "My grandfather planted trees that sheltered me. My father planted trees that sheltered others. Now it is my turn." The children were silent. The old man continued digging. Years later, travelers rested beneath those very trees. Families gathered there. Children played there. Birds built nests there. The old man never saw all of it. But his responsibility created blessings that continued long after he was gone. True success is not only about what you achieve for yourself. It is also about what you leave behind for others. The greatest leaders build people. The greatest teachers build minds. The greatest parents build character. The greatest entrepreneurs create opportunities. Ask yourself today, what am I planting that future generations will benefit from? Because responsibility is bigger than today. It reaches into tomorrow. The final lesson before the next chapter. Every morning you are given something priceless. 24 new hours. No one receives more. No one receives less. The successful person and the unsuccessful person both begin the day with the same amount of time. The difference lies in responsibility. One chooses discipline. The other chooses delay. One accepts ownership. The other searches for excuses. One builds the future. The other waits for the future. Never underestimate the power of daily choices. Your future is not created by one extraordinary day. It is created by thousands of ordinary days lived with purpose. One responsible decision may seem small. But repeated over months and years, those decisions become a remarkable life. Remember this. You cannot change yesterday. Tomorrow has not yet arrived. But today is completely in your hands. Take responsibility for today. And one day, you'll look back with gratitude because today was the day everything began. Success Secret Part 7 continued. The story of the man who blamed everything. There was once a man who always believed the world was against him. If he failed an exam, it was because the questions were unfair. If he lost an opportunity, it was because others were favored. If he made a mistake, it was because someone didn't explain things properly. In his mind, nothing was ever his responsibility. One day, he visited an old mentor who listened quietly to him complain for nearly an hour. When the man finished speaking, expecting agreement, the mentor said nothing at first. Instead, he placed 2 cups on the table. One cup was full of water. The other was empty. The mentor asked him, Which cup is responsible for the empty one? The man laughed. That makes no sense. The empty cup is just empty. The mentor nodded slowly. Exactly. But your life is the same. You keep pointing at everything outside you while ignoring what is inside you. The man frowned. The mentor continued. As long as you believe everything outside you is responsible for your situation, you will never change your life. That moment hit him deeply. For the first time, he realized something uncomfortable. He had spent years explaining his life instead of improving it. From that day forward, he began changing small habits. He stopped blaming circumstances. He started asking better questions. Slowly, his life began to shift. Not because the world changed, but because he changed his response to the world. The story of the student who stopped making excuses. A student once struggled badly in school. Every exam result disappointed him. Every failure came with a list of excuses. I didn't have time. The questions were too hard. The teacher didn't explain well. One evening, his older sister asked him a simple question. If all your excuses are true, why are some students still succeeding? He had no answer. That question stayed in his mind for days. He began observing successful students. They had the same exams, the same teachers, the same school, but different results. The difference was not the system. It was their responsibility. They studied consistently. They asked questions. They corrected mistakes. They took ownership of their learning. The student finally realized something important. Excuses explain failure, but they never create success. From that moment, he stopped focusing on why things were difficult. He started focusing on how to improve. His performance slowly began to change. Not overnight, but through responsibility. The story of the unfinished bridge. In a small town, engineers began building a bridge that would connect two communities. At first, everything went well. Foundations were laid. Materials arrived. Progress was visible. But over time, problems began. Workers blamed delays on weather. Suppliers blamed shortages. Managers blamed planning. Everyone pointed outward. No one took ownership. Eventually, construction stopped completely. Years passed. The incomplete bridge became a symbol of failure. One day, a new engineer visited the site. He looked at the abandoned structure and asked a simple question. Who is responsible for finishing this? Silence filled the room. Everyone had an excuse. But no one had ownership. The new engineer said something powerful. Responsibility is not about blame. It is about rebuilding what has been left undone. He reorganized the team, clarified roles, removed confusion, focused on solutions instead of excuses. Slowly, construction resumed. Months later, the bridge was completed. And for the first time in years, two communities were connected again. The lesson is simple. When everyone avoids responsibility, progress stops. When someone accepts responsibility, progress begins again. The story of the young man and the choice. A young man once stood at a crossroads in life. One path represented responsibility. It required discipline, effort, and patience. The other path represented comfort. It offered excuses, delay, and avoidance. He asked an old traveler, "Which path should I take?" The traveler replied, "That depends on what you want your future to look like." The young man said, "I want success." The traveler nodded. "Then choose the path where you take responsibility, even when it is difficult." The young man hesitated. The responsible path looked harder. The comfortable path looked easier. But then he asked one final question. "What happens if I choose the easy path?" The traveler smiled sadly. "You will arrive somewhere, but not where you wanted to go." That answer stayed with him. He chose responsibility. It was not easy. There were challenges. There were setbacks. There were moments of doubt. But over time, his life began to change. Because every responsible decision he made moved him closer to the future he wanted. Final message of Part 7. At this point in your journey, one truth should be clear. Your life is not controlled by everything around you. Your life is shaped by how you respond to what happens around you. Responsibility is not about blaming yourself for everything. It is about focusing your energy on what you can control. Your choices. Your habits. Your mindset. Your effort. Your discipline. If you take responsibility, you gain power. If you avoid responsibility, you lose it. Every successful person eventually learns this truth. Not because life is easy, but because they decide to stop giving away their power. So today, ask yourself one honest question. What in my life am I blaming that I should be taking responsibility for? The answer to that question may be the beginning of your transformation. Closing thought. You cannot control everything that happens to you. But you can always control who you become because of it. And that is where real success begins. Master your mind. Transform your life. Thank you for watching Psychology of Success. If this video brought you value, subscribe, like, and share it with someone who is committed to growth. Remember, success is not something you find, it's something you build, one decision at a time. Because the future belongs to those who take action today. Master your mind. Transform your life. I'll see you in the next lesson. Point 7. Never give up on your financial dreams. The seventh thing you must do if you want to become rich is to never give up on your financial dreams. Because the road to wealth is not always easy. There will be setbacks. There will be disappointments. There will be moments when you feel like nothing is working. But the people who eventually succeed are often the people who simply refuse to quit. Take a deep breath in. And slowly breathe out. Again. Breathe in courage. And breathe out discouragement. Relax your body. Relax your mind. Because this message is for the part of you that is tired. The part of you that feels behind. The part of you that wonders if your dreams are still possible. Listen carefully. Your financial journey is not a race against other people. It is a journey of growth. A journey of learning. A journey of becoming. Think about a bamboo tree. When a farmer plants a bamboo seed, he waters it. He takes care of it. But for years, nothing seems to happen. No tree appears. No growth is visible. Many people would quit. Many people would stop watering the seed. But the patient farmer keeps going. Then one day, the bamboo suddenly begins to grow rapidly. What people do not realize is that during those years, the roots were growing underneath the ground. Many financial dreams work the same way. You may not see results immediately. You may not see progress immediately. But that does not mean nothing is happening. Perhaps your roots are growing. Perhaps your knowledge is increasing. Perhaps your character is becoming stronger. Perhaps your breakthrough is closer than you think. Another story. A young man started a small business. The first month, he made almost no money. The second month, things became even harder. The third month, he wanted to quit. People laughed at him. People doubted him. People told him to give up. But he kept learning. He kept improving. He kept showing up. Years later, that small business became successful. People called him lucky. But it was not luck. It was persistence. Success often belongs to people who stay in the game long enough. Take another deep breath. Think about a child learning to walk. The child falls. Then stands up. Falls again. Then stands up again. Imagine if the child decided, I failed twice, so walking isn't for me. The child would never learn. Instead, the child keeps trying. And eventually, walking becomes easy. Your financial journey is the same. You may fail. You may make mistakes. You may lose money. You may experience disappointment. But every lesson is making you wiser. Every challenge is making you stronger. Every setback is preparing you for something greater. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine yourself 5 years from now. You did not quit. You kept learning. You kept saving. You kept investing. You kept building. Now imagine looking back and saying, I'm so glad I didn't give up. Imagine the pride. Imagine the confidence. Imagine the financial freedom. That future is possible. But it belongs to those who keep going. Ask yourself, what dream have I almost given up on? What lesson have my struggles taught me? What would happen if I stayed committed for 5 more years? Who could I become if I refused to quit? Remember this. Temporary failure is not permanent defeat. A setback is not the end. A delay is not a denial. Some of the most successful people in the world failed many times before succeeding. Some were rejected. Some lost money. Some started over again and again. But they kept going. And because they kept going, their stories changed. Your story can change too. Take another deep breath. And repeat these words slowly and confidently. I never give up on my dreams. I keep moving forward. I keep learning. I keep growing. I am resilient. I am patient. I am persistent. I trust my journey. I trust the process. I believe in my future. I believe in my potential. I refuse to quit. I refuse to give up on myself. Every challenge makes me stronger. Every obstacle teaches me something valuable. Every setback prepares me for greater success. I am becoming wiser every day. I am becoming stronger every day. I am becoming more disciplined every day. I keep showing up. I keep believing. I keep building. I have the courage to continue. I have the strength to endure. I have the power to create a better future. I am capable of financial success. I am capable of achieving my dreams. I trust that my efforts will produce results. Again, I never give up. I keep moving forward. I believe in my dreams. I believe in my future. I trust myself. Imagine your future self standing in front of you. They are successful. They are confident. They are financially secure. They smile and say, "Thank you for not quitting. Thank you for believing. Thank you for continuing when things became difficult." Listen to those words. Let them encourage you. Because your future is being built right now. One decision at a time. One effort at a time. One day at a time. Remember this powerful truth. The person who keeps going has an advantage over the person who quits. Persistence creates results. Patience creates results. Consistency creates results. So keep going. Keep learning. Keep believing. Your breakthrough may be closer than you think. And once you develop the habit of persistence, you are ready for the next principle of getting rich. You must learn to surround yourself with successful and positive people. Point 8. Surround yourself with successful and positive people. The 8th thing you must do if you want to become rich is to surround yourself with successful and positive people. Because the people around you have more influence on your life than you may realize. Take a deep breath in and slowly breathe out. Again. Breathe in wisdom and breathe out every negative influence. Relax your body. Relax your mind. Because this lesson can change your future. There is a saying. If you spend enough time around certain people, you begin to think like them, act like them, and eventually become like them. Think about it. If you spend every day around people who complain, you may begin to complain. If you spend every day around people who give up, you may begin to give up. If you spend every day around people who believe success is impossible, you may begin to believe the same thing. But the opposite is also true. If you spend time around people who dream big, you begin to dream bigger. If you spend time around people who work hard, you begin to work harder. If you spend time around people who believe in growth, you begin to grow. The people around you matter. There were once 2 young men. The first surrounded himself with negative friends. Every time he talked about his dreams, they laughed. Every time he wanted to learn something new, they discouraged him. Every time he wanted to improve his life, they told him to stay the same. Years later, he remained exactly where he started. The second young man made a different choice. He looked for people who inspired him. He listened to successful people. He read books written by people who had achieved great things. He learned from mentors. He spent time with people who encouraged him to grow. Years later, his entire life had changed. The difference was not intelligence. The difference was influence. Take another deep breath. Think about a fire. If you place a piece of wood beside burning wood, it eventually catches fire. In the same way, positive attitudes and successful habits can spread. Motivation spreads. Discipline spreads. Growth spreads. Success habits spread. Likewise, negativity spreads. Complaining spreads. Fear spreads. Excuses spread. That is why you must be careful about who you allow to influence your mind. Another story. A young woman wanted to start a business. The people around her kept saying, "It won't work. You're wasting your time. Nobody succeeds." But she refused to accept those words. Instead, she joined groups of people who were learning and growing. She listened to people who had already achieved success. Their encouragement changed her thinking. Their wisdom changed her actions. And eventually, her life changed. Never underestimate the power of the right environment. Sometimes your next level requires a new circle. A circle that inspires you. A circle that challenges you. A circle that believes in growth. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine yourself 5 years from now. You are surrounded by positive people. People who encourage your dreams. People who challenge you to become better. People who celebrate your growth. People who inspire you to keep going. Imagine how much your confidence has grown. Imagine how much your mindset has changed. Imagine the opportunities that have entered your life. That future begins with one decision. The decision to protect your environment. The decision to choose your influences wisely. Ask yourself, who inspires me? Who encourages me to grow? Who constantly brings negativity into my life? Who challenges me to become better? Who do I want to become? And who is already living the kind of life I admire? Remember this. You do not have to remove everyone from your life. But you should be intentional about who influences your thinking. Protect your mind. Protect your dreams. Protect your future. Take another deep breath. And repeat these words slowly and confidently. I surround myself with positive people. I attract wise and encouraging relationships. I learn from successful people. I protect my mindset. I choose growth. I choose wisdom. I choose positive influences. I am inspired by people who dream big. I become better every day. I welcome relationships that help me grow. I release negative influences. I release discouragement. I release limiting beliefs. I believe in my future. I believe in my dreams. I believe in my ability to succeed. I attract mentors. I attract opportunities. I attract people who inspire me. I choose environments that encourage growth. I become stronger every day. I become wiser every day. I become more confident every day. I learn from others. I grow with others. I rise with others. Again, I choose positive influences. I choose wise relationships. I choose growth. I choose a better future. I surround myself with people who inspire me. Imagine your future self speaking to you. They say, "Thank you for protecting your environment. Thank you for choosing people who encourage your growth. Thank you for believing that your circle matters." Because your environment can shape your future. Your conversations can shape your future. Your influences can shape your future. Choose wisely. Choose growth. Choose relationships that push you forward. Because once you begin surrounding yourself with successful and positive people, you are ready for the next principle of getting rich. You must develop a mindset of abundance and believe that greater things are possible for your life. Point 9. Develop an abundance mindset. The ninth thing you must do if you want to become rich is to develop an abundance mindset. Because before you become wealthy in your bank account, you often become wealthy in your thinking. Take a deep breath in and slowly breathe out. Again, breathe in abundance and breathe out limitation. Relax your body. Relax your mind. Because this lesson can completely transform the way you see your future. Many people live with a scarcity mindset. They believe there are not enough opportunities. They believe there is not enough money. They believe success belongs only to a few people. They believe other people's success means there is less success available for them. But wealthy people often think differently. They believe opportunities can be created. They believe skills can be learned. They believe growth is possible. They believe there is room for them to succeed. Think about the ocean. Can you count all the drops of water in the ocean? No. The ocean is vast and abundant. Opportunities can be like that. Ideas can be like that. Possibilities can be like that. The world is full of opportunities waiting to be discovered. But if you believe there is nothing available for you, you stop looking. You stop trying. You stop believing. And when you stop believing, you stop growing. There were once two friends. The first friend always said, "There are no opportunities. Nobody becomes successful. I'll never get ahead." Because of these beliefs, he stopped trying. The second friend said, "There must be a way. There is always something new to learn. There are opportunities one haven't seen yet." Because of this mindset, he kept searching. He kept learning. He kept growing. Years later, his life looked completely different. The difference was not intelligence. The difference was mindset. Another story. A young woman dreamed of owning a business, but she constantly told herself, "I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough experience." One day, she changed her thinking. She began saying, "I can learn. I can improve. I can grow." That one change in mindset changed her actions. She started learning. She started building. And eventually, she became successful. Never underestimate the power of your thoughts. Because your thoughts influence your decisions. Your decisions influence your actions. And your actions influence your future. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine yourself 5 years from now. You believe in possibilities. You believe in growth. You believe that opportunities exist. You believe you can learn and improve. Now imagine the confidence you feel. Imagine the doors that begin to open. Imagine the new ideas. Imagine the new opportunities. Imagine the new life you are creating. That future begins with a decision. The decision to think abundantly. The decision to think bigger. The decision to believe that more is possible. Ask yourself, what beliefs have been limiting me? What opportunities have I ignored because of fear? What could happen if I believed that greater things were possible? How would I act if I truly believed in abundance? What kind of future could I create? Remember this. An abundance mindset does not mean ignoring reality. It means believing that growth is possible. It means believing that there is more to learn. It means believing that your future can be better than your present. Take another deep breath and repeat these words slowly and confidently. I think abundantly. I believe in possibilities. I believe in growth. I believe in opportunities. I attract abundance into my life. I attract new ideas. I attract new opportunities. I believe there is enough success for everyone. I celebrate the success of others. I learn from successful people. I release limiting beliefs. I release fear. I release scarcity thinking. I choose possibility. I choose faith. I choose growth. I believe in my ability to succeed. I believe in my ability to learn. I believe in my ability to create wealth. I become more positive every day. I become more confident every day. I become more open to opportunities every day. I trust that greater things are possible. I trust that my future can improve. I trust that I can grow. I think bigger. I dream bigger. I believe bigger. I attract abundance. I create abundance. I live with gratitude. Again, I think abundantly. I believe in opportunities. I believe in growth. I believe in my future. I welcome abundance into my life. Imagine your future self standing before you. They are smiling. business begins with an idea. Every success story begins with belief. Do not limit yourself. Do not limit your dreams. Do not limit your future. Think bigger. Believe bigger. Expect greater things. Because when your mindset changes, your actions begin to change. And when your actions change, your life begins to change. Once you develop an abundance mindset, you are ready for the final principle of getting rich. You must take action and remain consistent until your dreams become reality. Point 10. Take action and stay consistent until you succeed. The 10th and final thing you must do if you want to become rich is to take action and stay consistent until you succeed. Because knowledge without action changes nothing. Dreams without action remain dreams. Goals without action remain wishes. And ideas without action never become reality. Take a deep breath in. And slowly breathe out. Again. Breathe in courage. And breathe out procrastination. Relax your body. Relax your mind. Because this may be the most important lesson of all. Many people know what they should do. They know they should save. They know they should invest. They know they should learn new skills. They know they should start a business. They know they should improve themselves. But knowing and doing are not the same. The world is full of people with good intentions. But wealth is often built by people who take action. There were once two friends. Both wanted to become rich. Both had dreams. Both had ideas. The first friend spent years planning. He wanted everything to be perfect. He kept saying, "I'll start next month. I'll start next year. I'll start when the time is right." But the perfect time never came. The second friend started with what he had. He didn't know everything. He wasn't perfect. He made mistakes. He failed many times. But he kept going. Years later, one man still had dreams. The other man had results. The difference was action. Remember this. You do not have to be great to start. But you must start if you want to become great. Think about a person planting a tree. They do not plant a seed today and expect a giant tree tomorrow. They water it. They protect it. They remain patient. They remain consistent. And over time, the tree grows. Success works the same way. Riches are usually built little by little, day by day, habit by habit, decision by decision. Another story. A young woman wanted to become financially free. She decided to save a small amount every month. At first, it seemed insignificant, but she remained consistent. Years later, those small actions produced big results. Most people underestimate the power of consistency. Small actions repeated for years can completely change a life. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine yourself 5 years from now. You stayed consistent. You kept learning. You kept saving. You kept investing. You kept growing. You never gave up. Now imagine the person you have become. Imagine the confidence. Imagine the peace. Imagine the opportunities. Imagine the freedom. That future is being created by the actions you take today. Ask yourself, what dream have I delayed? What action can I take today? What habit should I start immediately? What small step can I repeat every day? What would happen if I stayed consistent for the next 5 years? Take another deep breath. And remember this. You do not need giant actions. You need consistent actions. 1 page read every day. 1 lesson learned every day. $1 saved every day. 1 improvement every day. 1 step every day. Small actions become big transformations. Take another deep breath. And repeat these words slowly and confidently. I take action. I move forward. I begin today. I stay consistent. I trust the process. I believe in my dreams. I believe in my future. I believe in my ability to succeed. I take small steps every day. I improve every day. I grow every day. I remain disciplined. I remain focused. I remain committed. I never give up. I keep learning. I keep building. I keep moving forward. I trust that my efforts will produce results. I am patient. I am persistent. I am determined. I create my future through my actions. I create wealth through consistency. I become stronger every day. I become wiser every day. I become wealthier every day. I attract opportunities. I attract success. I attract abundance. I believe that my best days are ahead of me. Again, I take action. I stay consistent. I trust the process. I believe in my future. I keep moving forward. Imagine your future self standing before you. They are successful. They are peaceful. They are financially free. They smile and say, "Thank you for starting. Thank you for not quitting. Thank you for staying consistent." Because every great achievement begins with a single step. Every business begins with one decision. Every investment begins with one action. Every success story begins with someone deciding to start. Remember this powerful truth. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence creates growth. And growth creates results. Do not wait for perfect conditions. Do not wait until you know everything. Do not wait until fear disappears. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. And keep going. Because your future is not created in one day. It is created every day. One choice at a time. One habit at a time. One action at a time. So take action. Stay consistent. Believe in yourself. Trust the process. And never stop moving toward your dreams. Because the rich are not simply people who dreamed. They are people who acted. They are people who persisted. They are people who stayed consistent long enough to see their dreams become reality. And starting today, that person can be you.